Kentucky. Damn it. Last night was that feeling for me because there are many things along the way that can help you or hurt you in a ball game to whether you win or lose. There are guys in scoring position that you don't come through. There are guys that, you hang a pitch here or there and, belt it into the water. Like, there are things along the way that you can change and do a little bit better and win a game. But the missed third strike call, the game was over. Gurriel was dead to rights. It was strike him out, throw him out, and it was a double play. The pitch before that was even lower in the strike zone that was called a strike. Or two pitches before that was called a strike. And then that one was called ball four. The Royals were a little confused because Bobby Witt lays the tag down. It was like, hold on, what? That wasn't a strike. Like, and Salvi's looking back like, what's the deal? That was walked him? What are you talking about? Rex and Ryan were a little more forgiving on that than I think typically they are in some of those. I was pretty mad about it. And when it happened, I had a bad feeling that, all right, something's going to take place here. There's going to be, a hit or something, and you don't have to take a bad route to the ball to try to, catch it. Sometimes, Herm Edwards would always say to running backs or wide receivers, recognize when the journey's over. You're staying up and you're trying to fight for one more yard, and now you get the ball stripped from you. The journey's over. Recognize when the journey's over. At that point, Hunter Renfroe recognized that you're not going to get to the ball. Limit damage. Limit damage at that point. It didn't happen. A lot of things that took place, but quite literally the game was over if a strike call was called correctly. So it can be sour grapes. It can be annoyance, but also an acknowledgement that one pitch does not decide a 9-inning game.
Yeah, there were many opportunities early in that game where the Royals offense could have broke through off Ryan Nelson. I mean, I'm not going to say 4 runs is a terrible total to have. I think when you have a good outing or a good night from your bullpen, 4 runs should be enough. But I was out there last night. I don't think past the 5th inning I felt comfortable in any sort of any time a Royals bullpen guy came out from right field. I thought Angel Serpa pitched fantastically. I thought Sam Long pitched fantastically. Hunter Harvey had to dance around his own jam, but still, it was one of those feelings of, man, if James McArthur does the same thing here in the 9th, I don't think you're going to be fortunate enough to get out of that jam. And as for that at bat against Perdomo, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Perdomo.
There was one pitch that McArthur got gifted to him. It was that curveball that probably fell 3 inches below the zone. He gets the strike. That moves it to 2-2, I believe it is. Yep. So, yeah, if that's not called a strike, the runner probably, if it was Gurriel's, not going to second. The next pitch, it would have been 3-1. It probably would have been called a strike because Salvi's not getting up to throw. But again, that's all shoulda, woulda, coulda type stuff. There were many opportunities in this game that the Royals failed to cash in with runners in scoring position. After they took the lead in the fourth to fifth inning, there was still 3 more innings where they could have done damage and not put as much stress on the bullpen. And I've said this time and time again this season because I don't think there is anything in baseball that sends a fan base into a frenzy than blowing a game in the ninth. There is not a single thing that a team can do worse than blowing a game in the ninth, because that's when everybody says, well, you need a new closer. This should have happened. This should have happened. I would have gone to this guy. But to me, with this bullpen all year long, if you continuously trust them with a 1-run lead for 4, 5, 6 innings, that kind of becomes on the offense at this point. We know what the bullpen is. If you are taken back or shocked by them blowing a 1-run lead against a team, might I add, that is third in baseball in runs scored. It's a good offense. There's a lot of talent. They're the reigning National League champs. I'm not trying to completely excuse James McArthur. I think something has to be done about the closer's role. But last night I'm going, all right, you blew a 1-run lead. If James McArthur blows a 4-run lead, different story here. If the offense gives him 7 runs and he goes out there and gives up 5 and Ketel Marte has a go-ahead 3-run home run, I think we're having a much different conversation. But there were many opportunities early on in this game where the Royals could have knocked Ryan Nelson out of the game by the third or the fourth. I mean, he never at one point looked like he was in a groove. The Royals were, getting unlucky in certain spots. They were driving in runners sometimes with guys like Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell. They were doing their job. It set the top of the order up to do serious damage. And Salvador Perez had back-to-back at-bats where he grounded into a double play after there were golden opportunities to score runs. And so when you get to the ninth inning, we can pile on James McArthur and say he's not the guy, or we can pile on Brian O'Nora behind the plate because, yes, that would have ended the game. I don't think it's an eye for an eye thing where, I missed a call here, therefore I have to gift you the call here. I don't believe that's the case. That was a strike. He probably got thrown off because Salvador Perez stood up, therefore the zone gets a little bit construed. But still, it was a 1-run game for a closer that has blown now 6 saves on the year. Only Clay Holmes and Jalen Beeks, I think, have more.
All-Star Clay Holmes.
All-Star Clay Holmes. There you go. And the Royals were one of those teams that gave him a blown save. But I don't know. I just go, I'm not that shocked that a bullpen who has struggled before had to go 5 innings or 4 2/3 to finish out that game. And, a good offense eventually got to them.
And it goes right in line of what we were talking about yesterday and the difference of this pitching staff versus last year. In that last year's pitching staff, they got their 12th quality start in game number 84 because they were pitching 5 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. That's obviously not a quality start. You got to go at least 6. And one of the things that we talked about with that is the accumulation of innings on a bullpen that isn't a great bullpen anyway. The starting staff wasn't great. The bullpen wasn't great. They only won 56 games. Shocker. The offense wasn't great. But this year, we have seen so many quality starts. So many times the pitching staff has pitched into at least getting through 6, pitched into the 7th, 8th. Sunday, Lugo, a complete game. We've seen that. Walker didn't have it. He was struggling. He was fighting it. He was struggling to get through. And Quatraro, I think, made the right decision at the time. That, you've got guys that have a lot of rest. We're going to go and get the guy. They have to do their job. It is playing with fire when, as you said, you've got 4 1/3 innings that has to, be accounted for by a bullpen that you don't know what you're going to get when the next guy runs out there. And it's one of the things that Denny Matthews talks all the time about. The risk you take with the next man you go and get may not have it that night. And 3 of the 4 seem to be, 2 of the 4 were fine. 1 of the 4 got through it with his stuff. The last one couldn't. The 4th one couldn't. So that extra guy they went to, eventually they ran into somebody that just didn't have it. Or the other team matched up well against his stuff and his pitch shape and those particular hitters. Or you got unlucky on a ground ball that Bobby Witt makes a great play and then slips when he's getting his footing on his right foot. And if he doesn't slip, Gurriel, probably out. Maybe out. I shouldn't say probably out. He's a good runner.
Close, yeah.
So we would see. And then a strike 3 that's called ball 4. and it would have been strike him out throw him. You get unlucky on some of those things. A ball that's placed directly where it can be to where Hunter Renfrow thinks he's got a shot to get there, but it lands and then skips by him. If it's a little bit shorter, he stops it. If it's a little bit longer, he takes a different route to it. It lands in the exact right spot. There's some luck that runs into that. But when you don't pitch out of the fifth inning, you don't give the bullpen, at least, I've gone 5 innings. I've at least qualified for a win here. You play with fire. And your point about Ryan Nelson early in the game, the first, third, and the fifth were double plays by Salvi and Vinny. First inning, Salvi double play. Third inning, Salvi double play. Fifth inning, Vinny double play. It kills innings. Like, those are the guys that can't be accounting for 2 outs. You had opportunities. Bobby was getting on. You had guys in front of you. You had multiple people on. And you couldn't take advantage of that. And you didn't have many opportunities after that Vinny double play in the fifth inning, because it was after the fourth when Waters and Isbell did their thing. The very next inning, Bobby gets on, double play, then Salvi gets a hit, and it's like, man, you got 2 hits in this inning and never got a guy to second base because you mixed in a double play. Like, you credit Arizona for that, but those are the guys that have to come through when it's a closer game. Found ways to win some of these games through, first 4 of the All-Star break. Tuesday night didn't work out in their favor. Last night would have been a really nice game to win, to get the series win. And you came back, your top of the lineup or your 3-4 hitters weren't coming through, but it's a team game, and Waters came through, and Isbell came through, and it sucks that they lost that game, because I think part of the story to me would have been, one of the things that we can even still talk about is, Isbell seems to find ways to come through in those situations. Maybe it's just anecdotal. Maybe the numbers overall this season are actually he sucks in those situations. And maybe it's because you don't expect him to come through. But, man, it feels like he has a number of 2-out RBI hits. He has a number of hits or walks or at-bats that just have an impact on the game for a guy who's batting 9th and is there for his excellent defense in center field. And I would have really liked to shower and give the flowers to Kyle Isbell today with that hit in the 4th inning to help, tie the game. And then eventually, because he got to third and he busted out of the box, which I believe is the Bobby Witt effect. I think Bobby Witt has had such an impact on this team that you have other guys that are thinking triple right out of the box instead of, that's in the gap, I got a double here. I'm going to start coasting around second or around first and into second. I'm good. No, right out of the gates, they're thinking triple. And he gets there and a wild pitch and, he scores. And that was Isbell coming through in the at-bat, busting it to third, and then aggressive leads at third. It felt like he was halfway down the line at times. That was from the TV. You were there, so I don't know how aggressive the lead was. But, man, it looked like it was a pretty damn aggressive lead. And that ball didn't get far past Perdomo. That ball skipped a little bit past there. But if he wasn't aggressive and having a bigger lead and a bigger secondary, and, of course, some of that was how the defense was playing Adam Frazier. So they weren't, holding Isbell close at third, which in Major League they typically don't do, but regardless. I would have loved to, and we can still do it, give the flowers to Kyle Isbell, but there's just so many things that you take away from that game that are annoyances and frustrations rather than excitement of they won a series against a good team and a good offense, and they found a way to win the rubber match. Back-to-back Monday, Tuesday games. You win this one, you lose that one. Rubber match, this is a back-and-forth game, and you won it. But they didn't. They found ways, you can make a case they found ways to lose games, whether it was the umpire or not.
And now they're 3-10 in rubber match games, and that's something, whether you like it or not, it has to improve in these final 59 games. You can't take the first game of a series against a good team and then lose the final 2, whether it be at home or on the road. If you are losing the rubber match after, you lose game 1, you get smoked, and then you play well in game 2, then you lose by 1 run or in this same fashion in a series finale, I can live with it. When you dominate in the way you did in game 1, and you've got Michael Wacha going in one of the games, the offense seems to be rolling, you got to find a way to grab that second one, especially when Boston, 1-5 out of the gates. You look at this situation, because also we know about that, 20 to 30 game stretch they have coming up here where they're going to see Cleveland twice, they're going to see Minnesota twice, they're going to see Philadelphia. There's a lot of tough games on the schedule, which is why games like last night are going to stick with you a little bit longer. I think there's been 3 or 4 situations this year where last night's loss kind of lingers into my morning, where I wake up and I go, man, that's one that stings a little bit. And I think one of the main reasons this stings is that the bullpen, has been pretty good out of the break. You can chalk that up as, they're playing the White Sox. It's easy for the bullpen to settle in against the White Sox. But the way the bullpen lined up last night, it was exactly the way Matt Quatraro had hoped it would when he pulled Michael Wacha in the 5th inning. You go to Angel Serpa, you get that 1 pitch, 1 out against Jock Peterson. He comes back out for the 6th, clean inning, 1, 2, 3. He's pumping 97, 98 with ease. Then you go to Sam Long, who's been excellent in a role like that. Torey Lovullo pinch hits twice for a right-handed batter. Doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. Hunter Harvey comes in. I think that his jam was not as bad as maybe some people thought it was. 0-2 pitch splitter or curveball was. Hits the guy in the back foot. Yeah. Then there's a ground ball over to
literally
first.
A back foot slider.
Yeah, I mean, it
literally, or back foot curve, I guess is what it would have been.
If he was getting tagged and then he gets out of that, I'm not feeling as good about it. But I thought for the most part, I'll live with that type of outing because I do think he gets a lot better. So you go to Hunter Harvey in the 8th. That's exactly why you went out there and acquired the guy. And then you line it up for James McArthur, who, by the way, struck out Eugenio Suarez on 3 pitches to begin the inning. So at that point, you're going, all right, you feel with a James McArthur outing, the first batter's going to tell you how it's going to go. And when he has outings like that, where the first batter looks silly on 2 of the swings, you go, all right, he's got his best stuff tonight. But then you have the infield single in which Bobby Witt Jr. slips. I believe with his throw power, his arm strength, he gets him there. And at that point, Arizona's going, okay, you're down to your final out. Struck out on 3 pitches. Great play by the shortstop. You're losing.
Perdoma's up there, and the 3-2 pitch, Salvi's framing it.
There you go. He's not standing up to throw it out in a second. I still don't think this is that one loss that really drove me mad. To me, it's always going to be that Milwaukee game in which they were up by 2, nobody on, and McArthur blows that game. That, to me, was the one I always go back to and just say, was that loss worse than that one? I don't believe it is. Now, the difference is it's a much different game at this point in the season. With 59 games to go, you can't afford many more like this. I mean, with that tough stretch coming up, you got to take advantage of having a 1-run lead, a 2-run lead in the 9th inning. When you have a night like this from your bullpen, the fact you cough up 5 at that type of spot, it's going to have it hurt a little bit worse because all those other guys just did their job and handed it over to the closer. The thing that maybe nobody wants to hear out there, fans that are piling on James McArthur, if the Royals are going to get to October, he has to have some form of role, and he has to be good in that role. I'm not saying it's the closer. If he's the 7th inning guy or the 8th inning guy, or Q likes to mix and match a lot, he has to be a high leverage guy. You can't just toss McArthur away and say, well, he sucks, he's terrible. Prior to last night, he had been pretty good since, I think, the middle of June. His ERA was under 4. He was, I think, 5th or 6th in the American League in saves. But one night like that for a closer, now his ERA is near 5. Now he's got the 2nd most blown saves, and you don't trust him as much in spots like that.
The next 10 games they've got against teams that are under 500. And then you play the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. See, that's why it kind of feels like do you feel this way, Jack? It feels like the rug was ripped out from under us as far as we are pacing towards October-style baseball with the way the team has been playing. And to have it end like that last night felt like just not the trend of what the team was kind of working towards after the break.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've had a handful of games like this where you just go, man, I mean, that you could, in the past, you could say, well, Arizona's a good team. That's a team that was in the World Series. They're going to get you eventually. But I would say in the clubhouse, and even last night, the best thing about this team, in my opinion, is their ability to flush games like this. I think when they left the ballpark last night, they're not thinking about it in the same way the fans are.
They're thinking they got a day off at home.
Day off at home, and let's get back on track here against Chicago. It's why after that Brewers collapse, what'd they do the next day? They won pretty comfortably, and James McArthur went out there and got the save. So you're hoping with a bad Chicago team, a struggling Chicago team coming in, they get an opportunity like this again. That's always my hope, is that game 1 against the Cubs, it'll be a big crowd on the Friday night, good weather. there is a ninth inning situation of a 1 or 2 run game, and Matt Quatraro has to make a decision as to who can go out there and slam the door.
Yeah. Cubs coming in town, and a team that's under 500, with the White Sox under 500, the Tigers under 500, opportunities to make some hay, if you will. We'll see if they end up doing that, but we'll also see how the structure of the bullpen will progress, will evolve the rest of the season. We'll hear from Buster Olney. We'll hear some others weighing in on the trade deadline. We're 5 days away. It'll start to get hot and heavy the rest of the way. It's going to be pretty interesting what happens around baseball over these next 5 days. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about if there are other options in the bullpen. One particular name, Chris Bubich. I want to examine what they may be able to do with him. And I think this is an important 5 days, or should be an important 5 days for Michael Wacha and the Royals. And I'll explain on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Fanboy the intern. What's the nickname for the other intern? Does he have a nickname yet?
Vito, maybe?
Vito. Okay. Is it Vito? Is it? I don't know. Vito the intern, Fanboy the intern, in here talking to Jack. You know, they have a show called, I think, The Interns. And they do a sports radio. They're doing one on Tuesday night, and so they were in here bugging Jack, asking if he would be a guest. And I got to say, Jack, you were very nice to them when they were in here. I don't agree with what you said when they left.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a little extreme.
In the half second, the minute the door shut.
Thought that was extreme, Jack. I don't think that they are that. And I just hope they didn't. I just hope they didn't hear.
I mean,
I hope they didn't hear.
That's kind of the personality I carry around here, man. I talk behind people's backs, and it doesn't matter who you are.
It's gotten bad.
It can be the top dog here, man.
Yeah,
I may be nice to your face.
I disagree with what you've continued to say about Chad Boger. That's just me, though.
I feel
I'm
so
never-
secure in my job.
I'm never
going to
say anything about that. I just want you to know, between me and you and God,
Lockbox.
I don't have those same thoughts and feelings and grudges, really. I don't. No, that was very nice. They came in, they were like, hey, we're looking for a Royals guest trade deadline. We love your stuff on the internet, and we love your da-da-da. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I'm just sitting here doing nothing. That's cool. I do 4 hours
Jack
a day.
was like, I hope you find one.
Yeah. That would have been a great line. Oh, Jack, that would have been a great line. Like, oh, I can help you find somebody. Who are you looking for? Oh, you went to Max Reaper? I got his number.
Yeah, I got a couple guys.
Let me know.
What day you on Tuesday? No, it doesn't work for me, man. What about Wednesday?
No, it's like, hey, can we have you on as a guest? Oh, I'm busy that day. I didn't even tell you what day it was. Yeah, I know. I'm going to be busy. It's
booked.
Monday, like I said, very busy. You free Wednesday? No, I told you I'm busy that day. Which day? Does it end in day that I'm busy? No, it was very, very nice. And the trade deadline being Tuesday, they wanted a fresh guest to break down what had happened at the trade deadline. And at that time, you know, when they're on the air, hopefully we will know all of the trades.
Yes.
And we'd have a little bit of time to digest those trades. Let's hear from Buster Olney. He was on with New Day this morning with SSJ and Todd Lebo. And he was asked about, Buster, what have you heard? What's the latest as we're 5 days away? This is the last time the Border Patrol, gosh darn it, last time New Day will talk with Buster Olney before the trade deadline is passed. What are you hearing, Buster?
What I'm hearing from other teams is they think the Royals will be one of the teams that get through the deadline and land their targets. And they're not going to be – there are going to be some teams that are not able to do that because there's just not a lot of sellers. They're, you got Carlos Estevez, for example, of the Angels. He's a popular player right now in the trade market, and a lot of teams are talking about him. If you're the Angels, you're going to wind up getting what you want. Yimi Garcia is another reliever, veteran guy who could potentially close games. He's someone who a lot of teams are looking at, but there's always that feel when executives speak to each other, and the impressions of folks with other teams that I'm getting is they think the Royals are going to take advantage of this moment where they have probably been the biggest surprise in Major League Baseball this year, with how that far they've come, and their sense is the Royals are going to be deal makers between now and the deadline next Tuesday, and they will in the end, land one of those relievers who are out there, and they're maybe a Michael Kopech, maybe a Tanner Scott. There are some of the elite names that are being mentioned by other teams, and they think they're going to wind up with an outfielder as well. But we'll see. It's been a very slow-moving trade market, as you guys have noticed, because of the fact that the sellers hold the cards right now. And there are a lot of buyers who are waiting and hoping the prices drop, but I don't think they're going to because I think with the American League and National League wild card races being so wide open that a lot of teams are still hoping they can find the right player and make a move, and they're just hoping to get that player at the right price.
really interesting there at the beginning that around Major League Baseball, the Royals are a team that other people feel like when the trade deadline is passed, they will land their targets. I've got a theory on why I think that is. Do you have a thought as to why you think the Royals are one of those that people think they will land their targets?
I think that shows you that the Royals may be that team that's willing to go a little bit more above and beyond than some teams are not willing to do.
I've got two thoughts. That was one of them.
Yeah.
I got another one ready to go.
I'm glad to hear that Buster Olney said, too, that the Royals are looking at this as a moment to capitalize, not a moment of, well, this might be fool's gold. We're going to ride it out with what we got. I mean, we've now heard for 2 weeks, or maybe more so a week and a half, the Royals are one of the more aggressive teams going into the trade deadline. And it's not just rentals. It's guys that will not only better this team, but better next year's team and maybe the year after that. And we've seen smoke around Brent Rooker. We've seen smoke around Tommy Pham, smoke around Carlos Estevez. I thought Tanner Scott wouldn't be a possibility. But now you look at it for a team like the Yankees or the Phillies, the Dodgers, going after some of those players, or the Orioles. Maybe those teams are saying, hey, if you're the Orioles and you've got a handful of top 100s, and the White Sox for Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert are asking for a handful of those guys, and you go, no, we're not willing to do that. We don't want to part ways. It sounds like the Royals are that team with no top 100s, with the exception of Jack Caglione, who's not ranked yet on their top 30. They could be the team saying, look, we're willing to part ways with anybody in this system. And I think that's fascinating. I think that shows that the Royals are confident in their new wave of prospects coming in, their ability to develop, and maybe right now they're also not as high on a handful of guys in their system, and they could leverage that into some deals of, hey, we want Blake Mitchell, your number one prospect. All right, well, then we want the guy with 2 or 3 years of control in that.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder, Jack, do you think that the cupboard is bare enough and there's so many holes to fix early that we shouldn't do it maybe this year with maybe another draft to supplement and not have to give away a Blake Mitchell that might have to replace a Salvi down the road?
I think it's a good spot for the Royals to be in because they've got 3 catchers that they regard so highly. You have Blake Mitchell, Carter Jensen, they just promoted to Double-A, and then Ramon Ramirez down hitting in the Arizona Complex League. That to me feels like 3 of the most likely guys to be dealt. And I don't think it should send you into a mode of panic of if you trade Blake Mitchell, it's, oh my goodness, we just traded our first-round pick from last year. I think it shows the Royals really like Carter Jensen, and they believe Carter Jensen is the catcher after Salvador Perez and not Blake Mitchell. Or you take the other approach, they really like Blake Mitchell, and they trade Carter Jensen in a deal because they feel like Mitchell's the guy moving forward and not Jensen, who they just promoted to Double-A.
You start talking about Carter Jensen, I will drive down to Northwest Arkansas, and I will wrap him up with my arms and not let him go. You're not going to mess with Carter Jensen. Don't you mess with Carter Jensen. He's going to be the catcher to take over for Salvi, all right? JJ, you hear me? You listening?
Kid.
You listening, JJ? You mess with Carter Jensen, you mess with me, okay? My other theory on it is when he said the Royals are a team that people feel like will land their targets. I think that's an interesting phrasing because they'll land their targets because the Royals' targets are not as high as some of the other teams out there that are trying to win World Series. I think the Royals have like 8 or 9 guys that is like, oh, if we end up with one of these guys, we'll feel good about that. Here's some relievers that have team control next year. Here's some relievers that are rental guys. Here's some relievers that might have 2 years, a year and a half team control through 2026 or whatever, or that'd be 2.5 years, whatever. Here are bats that are rental. Here's a bat that's got team control through next year. Here's a bat that's got a couple of more. Taylor Ward, we got him for 2.5 years. He's going to be free agent after the 2026 season. I think because there are teams that are going for it, and there are true difference makers that it's like, here are only a couple of guys that would make a difference at this position that's better than what you already have, and do you have the resources to then do that, as opposed to, in an odd way that's an advantage, the Royals have a number of guys that a lot of people would be an upgrade of what they already have, and so they can go lower down the totem pole that other higher level clubs are not going to be willing to pay for, that the Royals would look at it and go, no, actually, Lane Thomas, we will pay a little bit more for Lane because he's an upgrade for us right now. Where the Yankees might go, no, We're not paying for Lane Thomas. The Royals want to give him that. That's fine. We're going to go get somebody else. We're gonna pay a little bit more for another player. We're gonna go or maybe they just go Jason Dominguez is ready, so we'll just bring the Martian up. But whatever. That's just an example. The bigger name starters, right? I don't think the Royals are in the market for the bigger name starters. They're looking at some of the relievers. That's my first indications when he phrased it as they will land their targets because they're shooting in a different barrel than
that was what I was thinking
than other teams
with
are.
my question to Jack, and to play devil's advocate to my point, because I do believe you're right, is that like you don't couch years and be like, well, this year's not a great year, we should, like, you go for it when you can go for it. So I do agree with you, and I didn't know, I mean, that was my lack of knowledge there, not knowing about all the catchers we do have besides Blake Mitchell. So,
and I do wonder if does it have to be an outfielder? Can it be Rengifo? Can it be Jonathan India? I mean,
or a utility guy that can play the outfield.
I mean, Rengifo's played the outfield. He's played second base. He's played third base. I like Jonathan India. I've watched him a lot because, team that I watch outside of the Royals is the Reds. Family loves the Reds. I love Ellie De La Cruz because he's on my fantasy team. So, but India's a guy that might be available for the Reds if they're going to be sellers. He plays second base. So you got somebody at second base. It's not solving the outfield problem. It would solve your put a player batting leadoff problem because the guy's getting on base at 380 and batting 280 and, has some pop. He's got 8 home runs this year. He doesn't steal a lot of bases, but he's 9 for 10 on the year. I don't know how much it would cost for him, but that may be a guy to where the Royals go, we'll pay a little bit more, where other teams go, no, we're not going to pay a little bit more for him. We're going to pay a little bit more for Crochet. We're going to pay a little bit more for Tyler Anderson.
And I think the Royals have to be very smart and very calculated with how they build this roster moving forward, because at the state of your farm system, yes, you could say it's bottom 5. You don't want to deplete that farm system to make it, the 29th or 30th best prospect ranking system in Major League Baseball. But I also feel like if you go out there and acquire a guy with an extra year of control in the same way they did for Hunter Harvey, you're giving this team a chance to make a push. And then next year, you're not have to worrying about filling that spot through free agency. You're not having to worry about in the offseason trading for a guy to fill that spot. Whereas if you go after Tommy Pham, I've already expressed I think Tommy Pham would be a good fit for this team to be a leadoff hitter, but you're not getting Tommy Pham back next year. And if you give up prospects, well, then you're putting all your chips into this year, which is why I think if the Royals do make a move, you're talking about an investment of a year or two. And the Royals do feel like they are 2 or 3 years away from being able to significantly build up this prospect system. The farm system has been weak for quite some time now. And I always believe this with the fan base. If you're winning games right now, you look at this year, they are 56-47. How many fans out there are really worrying about the farm system? How many fans care that they're 25th right now? No, it mattered when you were losing. When you were in 2018, 2019, and the Royals were losing 100-plus games, or last year, you're wanting to know, well, when's the next guy coming up? I have always looked at the farm system of you really don't know who that player is going to be. Top 100s, it sounds nice. Jackson Kowar was a top 100.
Yeah.
Daniel Lynch was a top 100. There are a number
Gavin Cross at one point was a top 100, like number 60 or something, and then he fell off and bat speed law of like whatever.
Yeah.
You never know where these guys are going to fluctuate high and low.
You can't project what an 18 or a 19-year-old is going to be. I love Blake Mitchell. I think that he's had a very good first professional year at the minor league level.
Yeah.
Can I tell you that Blake Mitchell is going to be that good when he's 22 or 23?
Please tell me. Yes, you can tell me that.
Yeah,
please tell me that. You can do that. I'll allow you to tell me that.
It is like throwing a dart at a dartboard in a pitch black room.
Yeah.
And that's why for the Royals, you could be the conservative person here and say, well, I don't believe they're a World Series contender. I think with the way this team started, with where they're at, falling 3 or 4 games short of a playoff berth, I think next year, the year after that, you go, I really appreciate what they did in 2024. But I think J.J. Picollo understands the fact that you are experiencing a year that you may not have next year, right? We don't know that Seth Lugo is going to have 200-plus innings and be the league leader in ERA. You're going to have 4 All-Stars. Like, that very well could happen. They could be better next year.
Salvi's going to bat 280 and get on base at 340.
There you
next year.
go. I mean, you could also look at it and say, well, is MJ Melendez going to struggle again? Are there going to be guys that are not healthy all the time? I don't think the rotation will be as good next year because it's been unbelievable this year. So trying to capitalize on where you're at right now, I have no issue with it. But I would love for the Royals to acquire guys with that extra year of control where if you do fall short, you get bounced in the wild card round. Well, you have that guy for next year. You feel better about where the team is at next year, and then that's one less spot you have to worry about through free agency. And I believe the Royals, once again, whether they make it or not this year, they're going to spend again. They're going to try to get better for next year.
That's where Rengifo or Lane Thomas would come in with, at least 1 year of team control. Taylor Ward has multiple years of team control. Jazz Chisholm, Arozarena, if they're willing to go down that road and trade him. But guys like Tommy Pham are rentals. Jesse Winker is a rental, which certainly I would take because
be cheaper.
I think you can put him in the number 1 spot. He's been batting 3 most of the year, but I mean, he's got like 13 stolen bases on the season, so he's got some speed, and he's getting on base at 380. So, I mean,
maybe that's what Buster was talking about, being the guys that we're going after, because no one's really looking at 2 years of control, which we are, and that might be
guys are looking
point. They're doing it the right way.
Guys are looking at maybe rentals that are difference-making rentals this year.
Starters, because we don't
for
need
the most
starters.
part. Yeah, where the Royals are looking at team control for 1 year, 2 years. Brent Rooker, a couple of years, team control. Man,
that
it'd be cool.
I'm fine with.
It'd be cool to have him in the system. If you could ever have had a guy like that, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Or you go get like a Ryan O'Hearn or something from the Orioles or something like that.
A difference maker in the middle of the order.
So if you were to be able to have a guy like a Britt Rooker or a Ryan O'Hearn on your team, boy, that would be pretty badass. One day, a man can dream, right? A man
Fall
can
into
dream.
your lap.
We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. All right, wrap things up here in this hour. I know I mentioned in the previous segment that we were going to talk about the Michael Wacha conundrum of what these next 5 days could mean, what I think they should mean for Royals, the front office, and their number 3 starter. We'll do that on the other side of the break. We'll get into the bullpen a little bit more, the back end of the bullpen. Is it time for Kris Bubic to get some other higher leverage opportunities? We'll talk about that. Is he pitching well because of the situation he's in right now? Is this a matter of easing him in, and then after the trade deadline, the Royals will see what they have in their bullpen and then be able to move some things around with that? Hunter Harvey, Yimi Garcia, if that's who they acquire, and then Bubic and MacArthur, and you take those guys and sort of figure out where they're at. We'll do that on the other side of the break, but I want to talk about Michael Wacha next.
Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
913-912-4810. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at noon. Sports or Leisure, 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern. You know, we were talking about different names, and you had mentioned that David Lesky. Did you mention that on the air or off the air?
Off the air.
Off the air. Okay, cool. I also disagree with what you said about David Lesky. I like the guy. Okay, I think he's really good. But no, you had mentioned that Lesky was on the show in Wichita, and had mentioned that, you know, they're probably going to get somebody. The Royals will. And was it this morning or yesterday morning? I love getting it into my inbox at Inside the Crown for Lesky. And, you know, he puts out, and I see this now, and boy, what a resource this is. He has it Inside the Crown. If you don't subscribe, that's your fault. The trade targets for the Royals. And, you know, it's a good resource because there are a couple of names on here. I'm sorry, there's 52 names on here. I'm not joking.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I know you know, but I'm not joking for those that may have not checked it out. There are 52 names. And what's interesting is what we were talking about, now looking at it as the resource, which, by the way, David, thank you, because I'm going to start using this as the resource. But the names we're talking about and categorizing it, which is a great way to do it. He categorizes it as, rental players. Starting pitchers, bats, relievers, rentals. Team control through next year. Starting pitchers, bats, relievers. Team control through 2026. The starting pitchers, the bats, the relievers. It's a great resource to look at when you're hearing about names that the Royals may be linked to that, okay, well, this guy's already done the work. So I appreciate that for doing the work. But it's a great resource to look at as I just pulled it up. So, and you really get a better idea. I'm a visual learner. You get a better idea of looking at it on paper in front of you of some of the names that are out there. Because we talked about like a Jesse Winker or Tommy Pham, guys that we know would be one-year rentals. And certainly they're on here, along with a number of other players like Mark Canha and Brandon Drury from the Angels and Ahmed Rosario from the Rays. And it, certainly seems like the Rays are mentioned with a lot of different names that they might be moving, whether that be Fairbanks or Adam out of the bullpen, whether that be a Rosarena that may be available on the market and he's having a really bad year. This would be a rough time for the Rays to trade him, I believe. I think they'd be selling low on a Rosarena stock. I think somebody would be buying low on a Rosarena stock because he's had such a bad year. But Rosario's a guy that's been mentioned. So, I mean, they may be just simply Isaac Paredes might be a guy that they move. Just might be simply selling and starting it over and building around Junior Caminero whenever he eventually comes up this year at some point. He's battled different injuries so far, but he's supposed to be the next great thing in baseball that's hitting baseballs 120 miles an hour down in the minor leagues. So we'll see if that's what they do, or they say, we're not going to sell because this guy's going to come up and he's going to be our difference maker on offense. Those are decisions that every single team is going to have to make. I believe there is a decision that the Royals have to make in the next 5 days. I would like there to be a sense of urgency in the next 5 days with Michael Wacha. I am not advocating for the Royals to go the route of the Brewers and Josh Hader. Because you talk about upsetting the apple cart, really pissing off people inside a clubhouse because you have to build the team, you've got to manage the team, you got the personalities you work around, you've got guys that can mean something to your team outside of just every 5 days going to the mound. And I truly believe what Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo have brought to the starting staff has been a bigger impact than just what they've done on the field in their production. Those, even if it's those little powwows after the starting pitcher comes off the mound and is done for the day, and they talk about what happened, and they just have their conversations. Even if it's just simply them watching games together, there's something that Wacha and Lugo, and even throw in Cole Reagans, that have brought a legitimacy, a veteran leadership, that it isn't just, Greinke or Lyles. It's guys that are going out there throwing sub-3 ERAs, and Wacha's now down to a 3.5 ERA. And his career resurgence, has been absolutely remarkable. I mean, this guy from 2019 to 2021 had a 5.1 ERA and was aging. And all he's done since then is had a sub 3.5 ERA in the next 3 years. It's phenomenal. Hopefully he can keep that up. But point being, he's got an opt-out. He's got a player option for next year. So he can be a free agent after this year. Correct?
Yes.
It's a 2-year deal, $32 million with the player option for next year. If I'm the Royals and I'm talking about, hey, if we're going to make a move, we want somebody with team control next year, so we're building towards that next year as well. I'd like to know what Michael Wacha's plans are. I might approach Michael Wacha and say, hey, can we restructure? Let's get something done right now to where you are under contract next year. We'll give you a year and then add a player option for the next year. Because we're building for the next couple of years. We want to make sure that we know what we have. Do we have Ragans, Wacha, Lugo, Singer, etc.? If you're JJ Picollo, okay, then do we have Ragans, Lugo, question mark, parentheses, Wacha, Singer, etc.? And if I can't get some sort of an answer one way or another for Michael Wacha, he might be a really valuable trade piece that a team would go out and pay a lot for. And have you now, we're talking about them building for next year and the year after that. If you don't think Michael Wacha is going to be on this team next year, it's a short-term pain for a team that they're working around the margins and going after and getting, as Buster Olney said, their targets, because they're not acquiring people for a World Series this year. And if they are not acquiring people for a World Series this year, then yes, they'd like to capitalize this year, but also with the idea that there are great seasons that still can come in the future. And what is a better option of continuing this year, and we'll see what happens, and then Wacha walks, and if he's amazing the rest of the way and he gets $20 million from somebody and opts out, or if he says, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a free agent or whatever, he might be honest with you, and you go, all right, well, we're going to move you, because that can bring back a pretty decent prospect or two for a guy that has veteran leadership, has pitched in the postseason, is going to get you innings, and is going to give you a professional start every 5 days. I think these 5 days are interesting, and I think J.J. Picollo and the Royals should be talking to Michael Wacha about what his plans are next year.
Yeah, and I do think that if Michael Wacha was experiencing the year that Seth Lugo is having right now, I think that does get amped up a little bit, because Michael Wacha would be going, I was an all-star, I'm pacing for over 200 innings, I've won 11 sub-3 ERA, I've won 12 games, somebody's going to pay me.
Right.
I think the good thing for both the Royals and Michael Wacha is that Wacha's having a good year. That helps the Royals. What goes against Michael Wacha, he got hurt this year, so he missed a handful of starts. So he just got over 100 innings this year. Michael Wacha's not getting any younger, right? So if he hits the market as a 33-year-old pitcher, who is going to be that team that gives him more than what he would be making with the Royals if he decided to stay? I also just get this sense, and maybe this is me reading too much into it, I think Michael Wacha really likes it here and likes the relationship he's built with Salvador Perez, with this pitching staff, and I think it also helps the Royals have been good this year. If the Royals were bad and he was pitching well, he'd go, well, I'm not getting any younger, I want another shot at the playoffs. But also, if the Royals weren't very good this year, I think Michael Wacha could be one of their big trade chips going into the deadline. On top of all of this, if the Royals had a pitching prospect or somebody waiting in the wings to take his spot, I think you could look into that. The fact there is not an ounce of depth in this system and you're in a wild card race, I don't think you could do it unless there was somebody calling about Michael Wacha and they had some number 4, number 5 starter that's 24, 25 with 4 or 5 years of control, and he's ready to go right now. The problem is, we've talked about this multiple times, the Royals rotation has been so good, but the biggest fear I have is if one of those guys in these final 2 months goes down for even 2 or 3 starts, it may be the difference in making the wild card and missing it by a game or two because the depth is that poor in Omaha.
that's a big part of it. Is that would be the Hader trade in Milwaukee that people are going, hold on, we're trying to win and go to the playoffs this year, and now you just, as Dylan had talked about, pulled the rug out from underneath us in a trade, and our closer, what the bleep? And their response is, we're trying to win a World Series. We believe in you guys. We don't think we can win a World Series this year, but we're building so that this group can win a World Series. Trading Michael Wacha, you don't have an obvious person to come in and take that spot. Unless the trade is to a team that has a younger guy that is on the cusp of making his debut, but is not ready to go and pitch in the postseason and help you win a World Series this year. Cole Ragans is going to be an outlier of trades. So it's not like we'll just go and get the next Cole Ragans.
Yes.
But if a Cole Ragans type were there, yes, it would be more beneficial for the Royals if they were to move Michael Wacha and his one more year contract in a player option for a guy that would have 5 years of team control and could be awesome. You don't just get to press the Michael Wacha trade or the Cole Ragans trade button. That would be sort of that trade you would be looking for. But the damage that would be done to the clubhouse, I would wonder what that would do the rest of the way to this Royals team if then you weren't even really sniffing the playoffs and they just start tail spinning the wrong way because they don't feel like the organization believes in them. That would be where JJ, Matt Quattrero, the players on the team would have to step up and be a part of it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think that part's going to happen. Because I agree with you. I think there's a pretty good chance Michael Wacha opts in next year for $16 million. But if his next 8, if he stays healthy, and he's got 11 or 12 starts left, his last 10 starts he's got a 2.5 ERA. He's got a 1 WHIP. Like he had a 5+ ERA at one point this year. And the last 10 times he's gone to the mound, the guy's got a 2.5 ERA and a 1 WHIP. Like he's been awesome. He hasn't just been good. He's been awesome. The outlier is last night, when he didn't get into the 5th inning. That's not what we have been seeing lately from Michael Wacha. He has really turned it around, especially since that Texas game when he went 3 innings and gave up 7 earned runs. He's been like a completely different man since then. And if he continues on that trajectory, is a team willing to go, oh, well, we'll give you $25 million for 1 year because, we think you're going to continue that. And we're going for the World Series this year. That would be my concern with Michael Wacha. Because trading for team control the next couple of years, love it. Great. Love the strategy. I want to know if Michael Wacha is going to be a part of the rotation or not.
Yeah, and kind of back to the Hader point in Milwaukee, the reason
Josh Hader, not just Hater.
Yeah, the Josh Hader point. The reason that trade I think was easier for Milwaukee to make because Devin Williams was right there, and Devin Williams was the closer waiting in the wings, and we also know with the relievers, short shelf life, right? They might
They're
be
volatile
really good.
1 year. Then Sam Long sucked last year. He's awesome this year.
And now he's good. And we saw how quickly too Wade Davis, after leaving Kansas City, he was good with the Cubs. He was good for 1 year in Colorado, bottomed out.
Yeah.
Right. Greg Holland, kind of the same thing. So your most beloved guys, it happens that quickly. Whereas starters, and then I think specifically with the Royals, that's their lifeblood. That's their strength. And for Michael Wacha, I think he's one of those guys, along with Lugo and Ragans. I know what he's going to give me every 5 days. Even as good as Brady Singer has been certain times this year, I hate to say it, I still don't look at him as a guy that every 5th day, even tomorrow, I know exactly what I'm going to get. Michael Wacha's start last night, it did take me back a little bit. I'm going, man, he has not looked like that since the Texas game, in which he gave up 7 runs. Just not efficient, missing in the middle of the zone time and time and again.
And before that, he went 5 innings and gave up 4 earned runs.
Yeah.
So it was like a stretch of baseball. He just wasn't pitching well.
No, and he did the same thing in San Diego last year. He wasn't good in April and then went on a tear for the rest of the season. I do think, though, the Royals are in this position with him of they do have a little bit of the upper hand of the injury and the bad April and then even starts like last night where they could look at Michael Wacha and say, all right, if you are going to go test free agency, do you really think you're going to make more than $16 million now 1 year older? And there are going to be teams that go, well, you weren't great in April. Do we think you're going to be better than you were in 2023 and 2024? And I think a lot of teams are going to turn away at that. We know that pitchers are always going to be overpaid for. Every time somebody's signed in the offseason, you have people saying that's an overpay. But you have to overpay for starting pitching. And for the Royals' sake, I just think with where they are right now, they know that starting pitching is going to have to be their thing that gets them into the playoffs. You're going to hope the offense catches fire. At certain spots, you're going to hope the bullpen stabilizes at some point. But they know if they're getting to October, they're winning a wild card series, they're getting past the ALDS, which all seem like far-fetched things. They're going to have those front three. And maybe if Brady Singer, as good as he's been, was looking still stuff-wise like the 2022 Brady Singer, maybe you do make that trade because you're going, all right, we're getting an extra a pitcher to this rotation. He's 25, 26. We have him for 3 more years. Yeah, I think that would be enticing. But right now, I think the Royals put so much stock into Lugo and Wacha and how they handle the other guys in the rotation that they're not going to move on from that. And lastly, with the Cole Reagans thing, the good and the bad of hitting on a trade like that is the good is you get Cole Reagans. The bad is now, if you go to a team and say, well, I like this guy that's thrown in your bullpen who's 26 and he doesn't look that good. Teams are going to go, well, maybe they're seeing something in him that we're not.
The Rays impact.
The Rays impact, where you're going, okay, never mind, he's off the table. We don't want to trade that guy.
Why are the Rays asking about this guy that we don't think much of?
Yeah.
What are we missing? Let's reevaluate.
And with Cole Reagans, yeah, it's easier said than done. And even if a team did pull off a trade like that, there's no guarantee that that guy becomes Cole Reagans. That, to me, is like a 1 in 50 chance of hitting on a guy that was in the bigs for a few years, didn't have great stuff, and now he does, and he's your frontline guy.
Not too often do you make a trade that helps a team win a World Series, that a team acquires a player that pitches well in the postseason and is a part of them winning the World Series. And then later on, after that World Series, the GM is willing to tell other people around baseball, like a Bob Nightingale and others, that there is regret for the trade because of how good the player has turned out to be on the other side. The Royals don't regret the Sean Manaea trade.
No.
They got a World Series, and Ben Zobrist was amazing, okay? Finnegan, Lamb, those guys didn't turn out to be all that great. The Royals don't regret Will Myers, the trade. And if Will Myers had turned out to be a stud, they don't regret that, okay? They don't regret some of those trades, or really any of those trades, right? To hear that the Rangers they don't regret doing it, they have some regrets. The regrets might have been, we should have been more strict in our guns of not giving up Reagans. We should have worked more on another player rather than Cole Reagans and saying, okay, let's get it. We shouldn't have been as desperate as we were at that point. And maybe if we'd have waited a month, we'd have got Chapman for cheaper than Reagans, and we still would have won the World Series. Maybe there's regret about how it went down, and maybe there were other names involved, but it certainly sounds like from J.J. Piccolo's perspective that they stuck to their guns and said, no, if you want Chapman, you're giving us Reagans.
Yeah.
We got another month. We don't have to trade Chapman right now, you know? But if you want him for a month, out of the bullpen, how many outings are you going to get Aroldis Chapman in your 8th or 9th inning if, Will Smith closed? Like, how many outings are you going to get Aroldis Chapman? We'll take Cole Reagans. And they went, bleep it, we're trying to win a World Series. So I can understand some regret, but I would be curious if you could go back in time, right, get the flex capacitor and get in that same situation and say, okay, Chris Young, you know everything that's going to happen. Are you willing to change history? Are you willing to not press the trade button and see what happens in the postseason with Aroldis Chapman? I guarantee you he would go, we're trading him. We're trading him. We know we have a World Series. That flag is going to fly forever. We've got a World Series. It would have been great to get Chapman and not give up a guy that could be an ace, right, in a perfect world.
And it's all about capitalizing when a team is at their most desperate point. The reason the Royals were able to leverage that trade is because Texas was in the midst of blowing a lot of games. And I think Jose Leclerc had gone down with an injury, and Aroldis Chapman was one of the hottest names on the market, and that's what they were able to capitalize. Now you flip it on the Royals. They are the team that could be approaching sellers in a bit of desperation of we're leading off Adam Frazier. We are struggling to close out games.
We've got Hampson or Frazier in left field at times. Like MJ is recovering, but Frazier's playing left field.
And that's why a good GM, whether it be in Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles, Oakland, they're going to say, all right, well, we've got Philadelphia calling up our phone lines. We've got the Dodgers calling us up, the Yankees calling us up. What are you willing to go the extra mile? And again, I know this is more on a pivot from the Michael Wacha deal, but it is fascinating how J.J. Picollo is going to be approaching this and how he's going to have to get creative. Because with the farm system being depleted, with him already giving up the number 2 prospect in the system, we know if it's going to be a significant piece, that's where you can't have both. You can't get a significant piece and not give up a lot in return. We know that if they're going to get a game-changing piece, a lineup-changing piece, a bullpen-changing piece, they're going to have to give away somebody they value a lot. And JJ said that after the Hunter Harvey trade. We knew if we got a guy like Hunter Harvey, we were going to part ways with somebody we didn't want to part ways with. But now it's going to come down to that desperation. I still believe Sellers can be desperate. They're on the hot seat. Chicago's on the hot seat. To be 50 games under 500 and not give up those top guys, eventually there's going to come a point in time next week where that button has to be pressed, and where the Royals wait until that final day or act on it now. I'm excited to see what J.J. Picollo will decide to do.
And I would really wonder what the Royals truly feel about the man that was in attendance last night in Jack Caglione. Because if they are trading for controllable pieces for next year and maybe the year after that, is there a chance that Caglione's debut is in 25? With his arm, there's not. But is that where you talk with him and go, yeah, we would love to have you keep pitching? But you said last night all you can think about is batting next to Bobby Witt in that lineup. That's all you've been thinking about since you've been drafted. That's your ticket. Wyatt Langford got drafted and made the big league club. That was his teammate. All right, that was a guy who was a phenomenal college bat. They don't take as long as a Blake Mitchell to develop, because Blake Mitchell also has to have the defense to go along with it to be a catcher. I mean, I'm not ruling out the possibility. It sort of depends on what he does now that he's signed. Send him down to the complex, rookie league, see what he can do there, shut him down, get him ready for fall baseball, winter stuff, invite to camp, see what he does there, get a real taste, see what he does positional-wise. Is he a DH first baseman? Can you get a right field out of him? And if you do, did Hunter Renfroe opt in to his player option for next year for $8 million? It's 7.5, but I think the plate appearances are going to kick in for the extra $500,000. So he's going to get $8 million if he opts in. Is Hunter Renfroe going to take this hot streak the rest of the way? And if he continues and gets into the playoffs, does he then capitalize on that to get $13 or $14 million? And then maybe there's more of a sense of urgency to find somebody to take over for Hunter Renfroe? I don't know. But is there a chance in the Royals, in the back of their mind, they're going, we think Jack can be here next year in August. Next year in August, we're going to make the biggest trade acquisition in baseball, and we're going to bring this guy, and he's going to be in the lineup, and he's going to be a guy that might give us 40 home run potential. You know, Evan Carter last year for the Rangers made his debut and then was one of the reasons why they won the World Series. And he came into this year as the favorite to be, Rookie of the Year. But he's been injured all year long with a back injury that cost him a minor league season a couple of years ago. Same thing. That was somebody that surprised him. They didn't go into the Rangers didn't go into 2023 saying, hey, in August and September we're going to bring up Evan Carter and he's going to be our starting left fielder in the World Series. We're going to bring up this 20-year-old kid at the end of the year. That's going to happen. But he forced his way there because he was so damn talented. And if Jack Caglione is so damn talented and has everything that you could want as a bat, and you don't have to platoon him because he's got better power numbers against left-handers somehow than against right-handers, then maybe that's an acquisition in August next year that the Royals are looking at it and saying, if we can put him on this path, we can acquire this guy, we can acquire that guy with team control, and now we're building our lineup for next year when we look at what August and September will look like. And if we move a piece this year, we don't have to move that piece next year because this is one of the acquisitions we're going to be making. We can be a little more aggressive this year for team control because we don't believe we're going to be in a position next year to have to acquire a bat, because this guy that's wearing a Royals uniform now that was there sitting next to Joel Goldberg and watching the game is going to be our acquisition in August next year.
And let's be honest, the Royals have never really had a prospect like him that you took in the first round. And nowadays in baseball, because of, I think, Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter just last year, you don't need them to have 500 to 800 ABs.
I mean, Paul Skeens this year, man. I mean, I know it's a pitcher, but still, the guys were top picks, one of the best players in the draft. And Paul Skeens might win the Cy Young. Wyatt Langford broke camp with the World Series champs.
And it really comes down to, what they show you very early on in their career. If he goes into Quad Cities and he hits 400 for the first month, all right, Double-A. Well, let's see what he can do in Double-A. And I don't think there's any harm in moving him quickly through the system. I'm sure right now that J.J. Picollo and Brian Bridges have an idea of what he can be. Yes, there was a little bit of concern about the swing and miss, but if that's not a glaring issue early on, I think you can continue to move him, because you go back to the last couple first-round picks. I mean, Blake Mitchell, high school kid, going to take a few years. Even Bobby Witt Jr., he moved quickly, but he was a high school kid. You're not going to put him in high A and then move him up to the big league level in 1 year. No, Gavin Cross was a college bat, but was never the type of talent Jack Caglione was. I mean, you can't really remember a hitter like this that you could think, you just drafted him, all right, we'll give him 50, 60, 70 games at the minor league level next year, and then we want him in Kansas City for a second-half push.
Wyatt Langford had 44 total minor league games. Like, he signed it was a rocket ship. He signed his contract with the Rangers, played 3 games in rookie ball, moved up to high A, played 24 games at high A, moved up to Double A, played 12 games at Double A, moved up to Triple A, and finished out the season with 5 games at Triple A. He was drafted in July and finished the season in 23 in Triple A because he was mashing at each and every spot. It's like, all right, he's not gaining anything with these pitchers. Move him up. Okay, he's batting 370. He's getting on base at 500. Move him up. Okay, he's batting 370. He's getting on base at 500. Move him up. Okay, he's getting on base at 480 at Triple A. Okay, this guy's got a shot to make the team next year. I'm not saying that's Jack Caglione. That's somebody that made the club out of spring training. I'm talking about, is there a progression route for Caglione to make his debut next year at this time, so that you are trading pieces this year, if you're the Royals, for team control, that you know you're not going to have to wait and trade next year because this guy is going to be your big bad acquisition, which may allow you to be more aggressive with your minor leaguers this year, so you can go for it and still feel like you're in a position next year, because you don't have to then move more minor leaguers to get a guy who's got 40 home run potential to come up and help your team. We'll take a timeout, and that's part of Jack Caglione being there. That's the luck of the draw. It's the part of what's dumb about the lottery, in that the Royals should have had the number 2 pick, and if they had the number 2 pick and Condon's their guy, they had the number 2 pick and Caglione's their guy, whoever it was, you know that you got a real chance of making a difference, since we see that with Wyatt Langford, and we see what Paul Skeens is doing with the Nationals. Now, I should also point out that Cruz is not, up and making his debut anytime soon. So that's a guy that was one of the best prospects we've seen in years. Skeens has made his debut. Wyatt Langford's made his debut. He has not. He's still going through the system, and it's August. I mean, it's a week away from August. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, just for context, we were talking about the possibilities of the trade deadline, how deep into the farm system, how aggressive the Royals may be to move some prospects to get help for this year and into next year, and if they feel like Jack Caglione might be a guy that could be on this team late next year, if they feel like the guy they just signed yesterday is their big trade deadline acquisition next year that's not going to cost them a prospect, that maybe they're more aggressive with the prospect this year to get guys that would have team control. For context, Dylan Cruz was a guy last year when he was drafted that people thought would be up by now. Like, he could fast track to Major League Baseball. He would be in the big leagues. Like, this time next year, we would be watching Dylan Cruz roaming the outfield for the Nationals. In AAA, in 25 games, he's batting .248, and he's getting on base at .328. And he's got 19 strikeouts, 12 walks. You know, not terrible. But again, batting .248, OPSing at .732 at AAA. It's not going to get you a ticket to the big leagues anytime soon. So there's the flip side of that when it's this guy is an unbelievable prospect. What he does to baseballs in college is ridiculous, and he probably will be in the big leagues within a year of being drafted. I don't think he's making his debut this year, unless it's a throw a bone to Dylan Cruz if he gets hot. September call-up will bring you up, give you a taste, so that next year when you're in spring training, if you were to happen to break camp with the big league club and you did some great stuff in the winter and spring training, that you've already had a taste of the big leagues and you're not making your debut on opening day. Maybe that's the case, but I would say you'd probably have to, progress a little bit more, because even at AA, he was batting .274, at AA. Whereas we were talking about, what Wyatt Langford did last year when he was batting like .370 at every single stop along the way. Like, he was just mashing the baseball. So you don't know what you're going to get until you get that guy into your system. So we don't know if Jack Caglione is going to keep chasing, but now the stuff is better. And now his strikeout rate goes from 8% to 30% all of a sudden. We have no idea what he's going to look like. Brian Bridges, J.J. Piccolo, they should have a decent idea of what they expect him to be. And I think we'll get a decent idea the rest of this season if he goes to rookie ball or he gets sent to A or, Quad Cities or somehow, ends up in Northwest Arkansas or something this year if he's been that good. Then I think you get a pretty decent idea of what the plans are, and you can start to, get excited about what 2025 can be for Jack Caglione.
And I do think he was one of those prospects going into the draft that, everybody knew that there's always going to be some hole in their game. They're young hitters, whether it be a prep bat, a prep pitcher, or a college bat, college pitcher. I remember when the Royals took Bobby Witt Jr., one of the holes in his game was the swing and miss. They thought that once he got to the big league level, he would struggle with the swing and miss. And even early on, when they sent him down to Surprise to have sort of the rookie ball field not long after he was drafted, his numbers weren't that good.
Yeah.
He did struggle a little bit, but you could see the oozing potential. You could see the player he could become. And that's why I'm glad they went with somebody like Jack Caglione, where there could be a little bit of that fear where, he gets to the professional level and he's striking out 30% of the time in AA or 35% of the time. And you go, well, you're going to face much better pitching at the big league level. But also on the flip side, you look at adding a guy that if he hits on the tools that he's already shown and he does it at the big league level, you're talking about having another superstar in your lineup. And the size that he has, 6'5", 240, 250, I can't recall a time the Royals had a prospect with that type of raw power. You could say Eric Hosmer. If you wanted to go earlier than that, MJ Melendez had a 35-plus home run season. Nick Prado had a 30-some-plus home run. I don't see that as raw power. This, to me, feels like if you put him in high A for a full season or double A for a full season, he's getting to that 40 home run territory, that 45 home run territory. Then you put him at the big league level, and for 162, if he leans into that 70 grade, that 80 grade power, that's type of raw power maybe Royals fans haven't seen since who? Bo Jackson?
Yeah.
Of just sheer strength. I mean, it's you look at the guy, he's an imposing figure when he steps into the box. And that's what I think it has me so excited is he's one of those prospects where it's not, well, he was a great college hitter, right? Gavin Cross was a great college hitter. Even going back to Bobby Witt Jr.'s draft, like Adley Rutschman was a great college hitter. And I think the Orioles are very satisfied they took Adley Rutschman at that spot because they also hit on Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
If they didn't hit on Gunnar Henderson, they're probably looking at Bobby Witt Jr. going, man, what if we would have known Bobby Witt Jr. would become this type of player? And that's where with Caglione, yeah, there could be 2 years down the road where the Reds maybe regret taking Chase Burns, or I don't think the Rockies will regret taking Charlie Condon because kind of like Caglione fell into their lap.
A's taking Kurtz.
That I think will be the team that could look at it with the biggest regret because they went first baseman when Caglione was still there. But even
that's more apples to apples than like Weatherholt
yes.
with the Cardinals and even though I think that is something that we'll be watching is Weatherholt with the Cardinals.
Whoever was taken right after.
Yeah, I mean it's so and there was an argument of do you take Weatherholt or Caglione at this spot?
And Kurtz I would have been just fine with. In fact, leading up to the draft, I think he was one of my favorite prospects. But for some reason, it was this feel that Caglione had more of the awe factor to him. That when you put those two players side by side, who shocks you as a player? Like Caglione had a 518-foot home run in his junior season at Florida. Now Kurtz had a 470-foot home run to left center field, like the opposite way.
Yeah.
But still, Caglione, it was that shock factor of he also can throw 100 off the mound, and that's why to me, the Royals could take it slowly with him and say, well, he's a two-way player, though I don't think that lasts very long. But they could take it slowly and say, yeah, we're not really worried about 2025, but 2026 he's there. Or he does what Wyatt Langford did. He hits 400 in high A. Then you go for 5 games in double A, he's hitting 517 or something. You move up to triple A. Because, this is the type of talent that you put him in Kansas City, they're going to know if he's a big league bat pretty quickly. They can tell if it's going to take time or if there's no sense of putting him against these pitchers in Double A because it does him no good. He's just facing lesser competition.
Let's take a timeout, come back. I do want to talk a little bit about Chris Bubich before we get into some football with Kent Swanson. More Zone next. All right, we'll talk with Ken Swanson coming up at noon. KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Get his thoughts on the Chiefs so far, the 4 practices we have seen from the Chiefs. They're in St. Joe, off day today. Pads coming on tomorrow. Real football. We'll hear from the Chiefs tomorrow during the show as well. We talked a lot of Royals baseball so far. The rough loss last night, but a lot about the trade deadline being 5 days away. We've got today, we've got tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, so still 3 more days to be talking about potential trades. Also, by the time we're back on the air on Monday, they may have already made a trade and acquired somebody. I mean, again, before the draft, they acquired Hunter Harvey. Didn't know that that would be the case, but looking back, we know now that they had a sense of urgency because they wanted to move that 39th pick. Whatever happens with the bullpen and whoever they acquire, I wonder how the shakeup, how it looks, what it looks like in the back end of the bullpen, because I think we're past the MacArthur is the closer. I think we're past the, well, he's just going to need to get some confidence back out there and send him back out there again for the ninth the next day and you'll be good. He's just not a closer. He's the closer for this team. It's like in years past, he's not an ace, but he's the ace of this team. He's the closer of this bullpen. Hunter Harvey could be that guy. Chris Bubic is somebody that, we've talked about who do you trust in the bullpen. I trust Chris Bubic more and more. He's only had 1 outing in a high leverage situation. He's been out there 5 times. His first outing came in the 9th. They were up 10-1 against Colorado. Second outing came in the 8th against St. Louis. They were up 7-5. There's your high leverage situation. It was a doubleheader, but still, 8th inning, up 7-5, gets the job done. Against Boston, they were down 5-0. He came in the 6th. Against the White Sox, they were up 6-1 in the 9th. And against the Diamondbacks on Tuesday night, they were down 6-1 in the 9th. That's his 5 outings. Up 10-1, down 5-0, up 6-1, down 6-1, and then the 1 leverage situation up 7-5. It doesn't feel like we're getting closer to higher leverage situations. It almost feels like, hey, we had to put you in that higher leverage situation because of the way it was with the bullpen arms. But, we're still... I mean, are they worried about an injury? Are they worried about his experience in the bullpen? Because, man, he's been freaking good. He's got 3 base runners in 6 innings, and he struck out 7 guys. I'd like to see him get out there and have more opportunities. Heck, if it was last night in the 9th inning and Bubic was out there, I'd have felt pretty confident if he was on the mound.
I would have too. I think he's got big league stuff, and I think he's got back-end closer stuff. And yes, it's only 6 innings, but I'm not even just looking at, the ERA or the whip in a situation like this. I look at the pure stuff. I mean, he's only thrown 6 innings compared to the 14 he threw last year. His fastball velocity is up 2 ticks here. He's now sitting 93.9 with the fastball. His slider is up almost 2 ticks, 85.1 with the slider. Here's what stands out to me, though. The slider spin rate, right? It's around, I think, 2,200 to 2,300 is the average at the major league level. His slider has a spin rate of 2,684. That would be elite plus, as some would call it. His fastball spin rate is up quite a bit as well. It sat last year a little over 2,100. It's nearly 2,400 this year. That, to me, is closer stuff that can play. When you talk about MacArthur's good pitches or Hunter Harvey's good pitches, I don't think you'd find numbers far off from what Chris Bubic has, and that's why I'm not going, well, just try anything here.
Yeah.
I think there's legitimate stuff that you could say it's worth a shot if you have a 3-run lead against the Cubs tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But let's see it. It's a cushion there. If it doesn't work out, have Hunter Harvey or John Schreiber ready to go. But I would love to see it because they got to find somebody who can get those final 3 outs.
Well, yeah, so they started with Will Smith, and it was like, all right, he's not getting the job done. Put MacArthur there in the 9th. All right, put MacArthur in the 9th. He was getting the job done, then he wasn't getting the job done. And then it was, man, see what you have in Schreiber. Why don't you put Schreiber there in the 9th? Like, it's been a constant searching for who's the guy that can do that. And to your point, this isn't a anybody but him situation. Because if it was just anybody but him, then stay with him. Because at least he's been there, done that, and he has saves, and he's been in that situation before. To me, it's not an anybody but him. And I'm not even saying Chris Bubic is the closer. What I'm asking is, can we get Chris Bubic in some higher leverage situations to see if he becomes more of an option late in the game? If MacArthur can't do it as the closer, Can Bubic be an eighth inning guy and Hunter Harvey your closer? If you were to go and get a Tanner Scott, can Bubic be an eighth inning guy or Hunter Harvey? Can he be a guy that high leverage situations you bring him in and he's getting the job done? I want to see that more often. I want to see if they have that in him.
Yep. I think it's worth a shot at this point. Yeah, again, not just throwing stuff at the wall, but somebody that can actually go out there and get those 3 outs.
He's looked good. And he looks like he belongs up there. That's what he does. He looks like he belongs up there. We'll take a timeout, come back. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up next. Laboratory Podcast, joining us. Kent, what is up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing tremendous. If there's a little bit more background than normal, I am on the way to Buc-ee's right now.
Oh, wow, yes.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I've been one time. I made some beaver nuggets when I was out there. It was tremendous. Can't wait to get back there, get those. Think I'm getting some swim trunks. Like, it's a whole ordeal heading down to Branson for the weekend, so it's going to be fun.
Developing those core memories for the kids, man. That's what it's about. You have no idea what this weekend is going to be, and hopefully they'll actually remember all the money you're about to spend.
Oh, yeah, they better.
So we were going to Disney World. We're like, all right, well, you know, we know it's going to be expensive, but they're going to remember it forever. They better. They better remember that time we went to Disney World. They'll never be able to tell their friends, well, I've never been. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. All right, I'll show you the receipts. Yes, you have. It's very expensive. Kent Swanson is our guest. So they're off today, which is a perfect time for you to travel with the Chiefs having an off day today. It's early in camp. We've had the rookies for a number of days, and then we've seen 4 practices for the Chiefs. And by the way, let me say, people want to see the videos that are out there of camp. KCSN's Twitter account is where you're going to see all of those videos. It's great stuff. What are you? Is there anything you're watching or drawn to so far early in camp before they put the pads on? Anthony Sherman saying there's real football going on, but anything so far that you've seen in these first 4 practices that maybe that's sticking out to you that you're watching?
Yeah, so I actually got out there on Sunday for the first team practice. I got to bring my oldest kid for the first time. It was a lot of fun, but I'm one of the lucky few that got to see Xavier Worthy on a football field, and let me tell you what, man, I know that there's no pads, but he looks the part of a very good wide receiver. I'm trying to temper my expectations a little bit, but just seeing the ways in which he was utilized, catching that post route from Patrick Mahomes on one of the most ridiculous throws we're ever going to see. But also Mahomes giving him a chance on a corner route, on a vertical. Like, this is an element that this team desperately needed. This is something that they've craved, which is why they traded for McCole Hardman in midseason last year. They really wanted that vertical stretch ability. I know there's a lot of Deshaun Jackson comparisons. I'm not sure we're not going to feel some kind of way about this kid by the time his time's done in Kansas City, because just him hitting the ground running, building trust with Patrick Mahomes so quickly, and catching the football, tracking it too. Like, there's so much to get excited about there. That's the thing that's really got me most excited so far in this small sample size. I just want him, to get over this, reported strep throat so we can get back out there and start making some plays again.
Yeah, you said you're out there Sunday. I'm like, oh, you were there. You were there. And Matt Nagy yesterday saying, oh, the one practice he was out there was so much fun. Like, I feel like, is that like a backhanded compliment? Is damning with faint praise? Is he being sarcastic to a degree? But obviously he was being very genuine and serious, because it was. I mean, you saw some of the glimpses that are there. And one of the storylines that's been going on, and it's been written about in the Kansas City Star, Adam Teicher wrote about it a couple of days ago, this feel that there is a concerted effort to throw the ball deep, to really challenge over the top. Is that, in your mind, is that personnel specifically and strictly, is that, we've got to reincorporate this in the offense if you're, Matt Nagy and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, combination of those two? What do you see, what do you hear and glean and take away from these number of stories that are written about, with all different people, different eyes that have seen so many different training camps that have come to the same conclusion that, okay, this is different than years past where they are definitely throwing the ball deep, whether that's part of the game plan or it's just Patrick Mahomes saying, we're going to get this back in the offense?
I think it's both of them, honestly. I think the personnel decisions this offseason were partially dictated by their desire to get the ball down the field, because this is an element that they've always wanted, and, they tried so desperately last year to get some guys going down the field, MVS with his struggles. But I think they traded for McCole Hardman because they wanted to try to chuck the ball down the field a little bit more. They wanted to try to, stretch, defenses a little bit more vertically, because defenses were starting to sit on the underneath stuff. That they were really starting to put a lid on things because the Chiefs weren't able to effectively get the ball down the field. And so the personnel decisions that they made, I think, had to do a little bit with their desire to be more vertically minded, because, the vertical stretch ability off of him underneath if you can really be more downfield minded. But that was one of the things that really stood out to me in the very small sample size that I saw in the first day of training camp is just, we saw Rashee Rice wide open underneath because he's running under two verticals from Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy. That vertical threat opens up so much and makes Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce all that much more better. So I think, there's always been this element of the offense when they've been successful, and they've got the kind of personnel that they should be more downfield minded anyway.
Yeah, the Ken Swanson's our guest, kcsn.substack.com, the Casey Laboratory podcast. I've said a couple of times that, the concern that I have with Xavier Worthy not being out there, and obviously you want him up to speed as much as possible. There's, to a degree, to me this year, less of an emphasis on him being out there and being like uber productive while he's out there. And the way that I phrased it is like last year, Rashee Rice's impact was in his production. His impact was in his catches, his yards after the catch, overall just receptions, and being somebody that Mahomes can throw the ball to that isn't just, MVS or Justin Watson or thinking Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore is going to drop the ball. His value was in his production. Xavier Worthy, to me, being out there and being healthy, which he was throughout college, and hopefully this is just one of those blip on the radars that, a number of years down the road we'll look back. But his value, Kent, to me, is just simply on the field. Does he know the plays? Does he know where he's supposed to be? Because the value he has is the threat of what Mahomes just did on Sunday in the one practice that was there, in that you never know if Mahomes breaks the pocket that he could be running one way and throw it 60 yards back the other way to a guy who is really fast and can track the football and will catch the football. Overall, like Xavier Worthy's overall impact doesn't have to come in the production that it felt like last year Rashee Rice's impact on the team had to be in the yards and the catches and the yards after catch and being somebody that can help move the chains.
Yeah, I don't think it's it. Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I think Xavier Worthy's value doesn't need to be in volume of production.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need to have 6 catches, 7 catches. But he has to prove that he can finish those plays in the end zone. He has to prove that he can finish those plays down the field. And so he's got to at least establish that, he's going to be able to do it. I know we've seen it in practice, and that's what's so encouraging. Is he looked great catching the football, comfortable and confident multiple times down the field, catching the football and tracking the football. He's got to do that in games. And if he does that in games, that's where the value comes in, right?
Yeah.
He's got to establish that. They have to establish that not only can they do it, but they will, and they will score quickly. And if that happens, if that threat, is established, that will be what really opens this thing up. And you're right. That's where the impact comes in. I still think he's going to get his, and he has to. He has to come down with some of those and make some of those plays for. Because that's the story of last year is, they try and no one would finish.
Right.
And so they've got to finish those, and they got to finish them in the end zone. If that happens, it changes the math significantly for how defenses are going to try to defend this.
Ken Swanson's our guest, Casey Laboratory Podcast, Casey Sports Network. If you're looking around at the team and guys that might be the usual suspects that aren't the main characters of the play, who would you like to see take a step forward this year? Is there a player or two that comes to mind if you look at the Chiefs realizing their potential and being the best version of themselves and three-peating? Who would you like to see take a step forward in their career and production and what they mean to the team?
Yeah, there's one on both sides, I think, for me, that are veterans now. It's weird to call them veterans because they're from last year's draft class. But I think, Felix Anudike-Uzomah is a player that I'm really paying attention to as far as, the runway is there for him to get opportunities at defensive end. And this is a former first-round pick. He's not too far removed from being selected by, his hometown team. And, last year really wasn't able to get his footing and get involved all that much. Malik Herring was playing over him.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Herring was put on the game day roster over Felix Anudike-Uzomah. And they need him to take a significant step. And I'm a little, I don't want to say concerned. Concerned's not the right word, but you just kind of hear the way that Steve Spagnuolo talks about him is like, hey, we need to see more physicality physicality, and we need to see more pass rush ability and more of a pass rush plan. Those are two things that I wish we had, a little bit more established at this point in his career, right? And this is the first opportunity for him to kind of, set that tone here when Taz come on Friday. I think it's really important for him to get off the ground and kind of take that next step, because there's snaps to be had here. They haven't brought in a veteran. They were looking at Emmanuel Ogbah, but they haven't brought anybody in yet. So there's opportunity for him to come in and step in and participate. The other one I think is Wanya Morris, and whoever you want to win the left tackle position, we need the floor of this position to be raised. If you're a Chiefs fan, and Wanya getting more progression, whether it's pushing Kingsley Suamataia to eventually be the guy, or if it's him stepping up and being a capable left tackle. Those are two guys I think if both of them take big steps, I think that could go a long way.
Yeah, those are a couple of names that certainly came to mind. It really feels like FAU is really flying under the radar, and it's odd for a first-round pick to do that because, look, they were a very good defense last year, really good defense last year, and a first-round draft pick didn't play that much. He had a tackle for loss in the Super Bowl, but throughout the course of the season, a first-round draft pick defensive end, he didn't have the production and the playing time that you would hope he would, and they won the Super Bowl. And this year, it's kind of like he's just sort of part of the pack and not a whole lot of conversation around him. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of conversation. For example, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as a first-rounder, there was tons of conversation around him for a number of different reasons. And you can make an argument that his rookie year was much more productive and impactful than what FAU's was. It's an interesting sort of dynamic around him, because it's not that I think people have lost faith or don't think he's any good. It sort of feels like because the improvements they made on offense, Kent, and because they won a Super Bowl last year with the offense being feeling almost like average, that FAU is kind of icing on the cake if they get anything from him. And that's not typically a view of a first-round draft pick, but that's kind of the feel I have currently among the fan base when talking about FAU, sort of let's see what they have, but hey, Omenihu and Dana's back, and they got Karlaftis, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's, there's partially because this team won a Super Bowl without him already. And so I think that's probably a little bit of that, that vibe to where they view Felix Anudike-Uzomah. But honestly, if he doesn't pan out, the impact of that isn't felt now. It's felt when they don't have a Charles Omenihu, and maybe they let George Karlaftis walk, or if they have to pay George Karlaftis because Felix Anudike-Uzomah hasn't stepped up, right? I think when you look at, there's still time to determine the impact of Felix Anudike-Uzomah, good or bad, and I think, this team is fine now, but this team is, Felix was a future pick. He was a pick for the future more than he was for, 2023. And that's good business if you can do it, right? I mean, that's good business if you can keep that train rolling. But the impact and how that pick affects the future is what I'm more concerned with 25 and 26. Because look, he's theoretically halfway through his rookie contract after this year. I know they got the 5th-year option on the first-round pick, but the need for players to contribute quickly is different than it was a few years ago. There's really not a ton of projects that you wait until year 3 to manifest and be a contributor. That just doesn't happen in the NFL anymore. Guys hit the ground running a lot quicker. When you saw George Karlaftis hit the ground immediately in year 1 and really be able to contribute. And so if he's not able to do that, this year, then some tags start getting added to his name when you consider him as a first-round pick.
Yep. Kent Swanson is our guest. Outside of that defensive line, further back on the defense, the big question is how do they replace L'Jarius Sneed? It's been what we've talked about throughout the offseason, and we've seen it now in practice, quite literally in practice over these 4 days that they've been up in training camp with the veterans, that McDuffie is starting on the outside. They have kept Shamari Connor there at the slot, even with Justin Reed's injury. And it seems Joshua Williams is getting the bulk of the number one reps. Nazeeh Johnson got some yesterday, but Joshua Williams getting the bulk of the number one reps. I almost view it a little bit different. I view it as they're not really replacing L'Jarius Sneed. Like, I feel like they're replacing Trent McDuffie. And what I mean by that is, like, Trent McDuffie is a guy who was an all-pro, and he was an all-pro at the slot. But we expect him to be a damn fine cornerback on the outside as well, and he showed that last year, and I fully believe he will show that this year. He's shown it at training camp so far. Like, we know how good McDuffie is and can be, and is still progressing, is still growing as a cornerback. But he was an all-pro slot corner, and how do they replace that? Because I do think there's a level of just you lose Sneed, boom, Trent McDuffie is there. Right, you lost Charvarius Ward, okay, L'Jarius Sneed slides in and takes over that role. To me, there's a lot of pressure on Shamari Connor to play to a level of what they got from Trent McDuffie, and I believe Joshua Williams to a degree when they're going up against longer receivers that Spagnuolo or Dave Merritt may not look at as a matchup advantage for Trent McDuffie, whereas Sneed was able to guard really anybody. I put a lot more pressure on Shamari Connor replacing McDuffie than I do McDuffie replacing Sneed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that, it's kind of weird because I don't know if the Chiefs are, of the belief that they're truly able to, really replicate last year's secondary anyway. Like, it's almost, I don't want to say that they're, accepting it, but I think when you're looking at a roster construction perspective, like, there's really no true one-to-one replacement for one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. And so, yeah, you've got to get a little creative to make it a capable secondary, a quality secondary, maybe not the best secondary in the National Football League, which I will argue the Chiefs had last year. And so, yeah, what do you do differently to try to make it a quality group? Well, yeah, I mean, you've got to try to figure some things out and piece some things together a little bit differently. And Trent McDuffie, I think, got better and it came into his own a little bit more as an outside corner last year. And I think he played perhaps his best game of his career in the Super Bowl last year. Made some big plays, made that big play on that vertical play, the vertical shot to, I think it was Deebo Samuel in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I mean, you're hoping that, that Trent McDuffie can, play more consistently outside, knowing that you always have the ability to move him inside if you need. But yeah, Shamari Connor, it's a big opportunity for him. I do find it. I find a couple things interesting about that secondary. The Chiefs have a bunch of young swings on players like a Nazeeh Johnson, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Eko Boydo, Nick Jones, Kelvin Joseph. They've got all these guys. They don't bring in a veteran. They didn't bring in a veteran this year, so they obviously feel pretty good about this group and trying to piece this secondary together. And I found that a little bit interesting that they didn't try to add some veteran presence and they're letting these young guys kind of figure it out themselves. But simultaneously, they only want two on the field, in nickel at this point because they're moving Shamari Connor down, one of the safeties.
Right.
So it's been very interesting to see their thought process with the secondary so far.
It's funny in years past, if you lost one of the best cornerbacks in the league, there would be a lot more consternation, a lot more hand wringing. But there's been such a faith that has grown and developed with Chiefs fans, Chiefs Kingdom, people around the league recognizing as well the scouting, the developing, and the coaching of those players in the secondary, that it's almost like they'll figure it out. They got to figure out how to replace L'Jarius. They'll figure it out. They had to replace Marcus Peters and they had to replace Charvarius Ward, and now they're replacing L'Jarius. They'll figure it out, and they'll just find the next guy to slide in, and maybe that's Joshua Williams. Maybe it's Kamal Haddon. Maybe it is Jalen, Watson. Maybe it's Nazeeh Johnson. But they'll figure it out. They'll find it. And it's funny how so many other teams you might find a big concern is in like, oh, my God, they're trying to replace this cornerback that traveled with the best wide receivers in the league, and he's not there. And then people are like, yeah, but what's going on at defensive tackle? Or, left tackle, what's going on at other places on the team and wide receiver? Not necessarily, wow, they're losing this cornerback and they're going to be in a world of hurt.
It's because we are all kind of taking for granted and normalizing just how hard it is to win a Super Bowl in Kansas City. And this team has went through multiple versions of themselves at this point. We've seen elite defense like last year. We've seen fine defense, elite offense, right? We've just seen them cycle through different styles of play and different roster building techniques, and all of them have worked, and they've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 seasons, and they've just been right there every single time. So it's like, I think that's partially why I don't want to say numb to some of this. It's like, oh yeah, we've got a big, gaping hole at left tackle that we're trying to figure out. We've got 2 young players trying to contribute, and we're trying to find one that can do it. And oh yeah, we're moving on from one of the best corners in football, but now we're gonna just maybe hopefully light the scoreboard up a little bit more differently than we did last year because we're going back to that style. Like, that just speaks to the agility of this team. And, when you're building around Patrick Mahomes, he's been able to win so many different styles of football games. That just speaks to that. And the ability to do that over time, I think it actually makes this team and this organization stronger because, you've now seen so many different versions of the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs, finding ways to win games. And, this one's going to be different than last year. And the year before that was different than this last year too, right? So, they played static cover 2 and won the Super Bowl against the Eagles with a bunch of young guys who admittedly didn't know what they were doing. And so that group's, this is their 3rd year in the system. Hopefully that they're all able to take a step and maybe not be as static as 2022. But, yeah, they've been able to win with essentially this same group, just a younger version of it.
What do you think of Rashee Rice and whether or not he'll be available in Week 1? I've been under the impression for a long time that he's going to be suspended to start the season. There have been others that we've had on the show that are like, nah, not so fast. And then we heard Clark Hunt earlier this week say that this standard protocol by the NFL is let the legal process play out, and we expect that to be the same way here. It's 6 weeks or so away from September 5th when they're going to be playing football on that Thursday night. Do you think Rashee Rice will be out there? Because I don't know how long it's going to take for the legal process to play out. And I don't know if Roger Goodell will actually follow that particular protocol that Clark Hunt talked about, or if he'll just simply put him on the commissioner's exempt list and doesn't want that, Rashee Rice running around there on Thursday Night Football to start off the season with people having the image in their mind of that, car race.
It sure seems like we're trending towards him playing in 2024, and maybe the suspension kicks into 2025. Like, we've heard those rumors. We've heard, some reports out there saying that this could, bleed into 2025. And I think at a certain point that it would be really just difficult for them to just, put a suspension on Rashee Rice in the middle of the season. I think they've done it before, but I have a hard time, thinking that they're just, that this doesn't drag on, a significant amount of time at this point. And you want to know something? I think because of everything looming over his head and some of the legal troubles and people worried if Rashee Rice, you see people worried if Rashee Rice will be able to, be reliable enough to make it through his rookie contract. But man, on the field, I got reminded again at training camp just how good this guy is, and he should be. I mean, he should eat with the guys, running vertical. And him kind of working underneath. So, if the Chiefs are at full strength to start the season or are at full strength in 2024 offensively, it's a scary proposition because he is, he looked good. He looked good out there at training camp too.
Yep, some of those videos that are there, certainly he looks like he's taking a step forward. We'll find out what that looks like and if it looks like with him on the field. Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the time off, and we will talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Kent Swanson, kcsn.substack.com. You can check out his work there, KC Sports Network. And, of course, you can watch the KC Laboratory Podcast. He and Matt Lane do a great job breaking down the Chiefs, and they've gone through different opponents throughout this offseason as the schedule goes, week 1, week 2, week 3, breaking down those particular opponents. And a number of weeks away from September 5th, we'll find out what happens with Rashee Rice. I've sort of, we talked about this the other day. I've been going forward under the impression that Rashee Rice won't be there for a number of weeks, but, I have no idea when the legal process is going to play out as far as the criminality of it. The civil lawsuit, there's a court date in December for the civil lawsuit. The civil side of it has nothing to do with Roger Goodell. I mean, it's the criminal aspect that Roger Goodell will be paying attention to. So whenever that court case is, whenever they plead, whatever it might be, he's already said that he, was driving and has been cooperating with the police since, he left the scene of the crime, since he ultimately started off not cooperating with the police. But since then, he's doing everything his lawyer said that he, needs to do for that particular case. And so I don't know how long that thing is going to play out, or if the commissioner just simply puts him on the exempt list and starts off the first, 5-6 weeks of the season without him and then, takes him off. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. Ken Swanson, KC Sports Network. We take a timeout. We come back. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we've got Sports or Leisure. More Zone right after this. All right, thinking of Kent Swanson heading down to Branson, huh? Appreciate that. Kids in the back seat. Watching Bluey with the headphones. Clutch. Headphones are clutch, man. They're going to be watching those devices in the back seat. You need to be left to your own devices with your adults in the front seat and not hearing Bluey the entire ride. Branson, not that bad of a trip. 8.5 hours to a different city. Can be an interesting trip if there are no headphones or if the headphones run out of battery. Luckily, now you've got most cars that have those charging ports or whatever that you can just go ahead and plug those in. But those things come in handy. He texted just a little bit ago and said, "Hey, I don't know if it messed up or anything with my kids. Were starting to get a little restless in the middle of the interview." Like, text back, "No, but I wish we would have heard." That would have been great. I would have wanted to know what they felt like. I don't know what part of the interview that happened, what part of the conversation that happened on. I would have loved to know their thoughts on whatever we were talking about. They got restless for some reason. I don't know. When do they think Rashee Rice is going to play? Do they have, an opinion on this matter? Do they want to weigh in? Do they want to play the squares game? Hey, when's the baby going to be born? Pick the date and time.
They're tired of the dartboard suspensions that Roger Goodell's handing out, where it's let's throw a dart and this is how many games he gets.
Yeah. Anytime somebody mentions Rashee Rice around Kent Swanson, his oldest boy is like, Raj, am I right? The guy just can't figure it. Can we get some sort of consistency here? NCAA, Roger Goodell. Figure it the F out. Right, Dad? I've created that conversation in my mind. I hope he's listening right now. And I hope he's nodding along going, yep, that's pretty much, that's how it is. Got it right on the money.
Might still be at Buc-ee's. A lot to do at Buc-ee's,
There's a lot to do at Buc-ee's, no doubt about that. But thank you to Kent Swanson joining us, talking some Kansas City Chiefs. And it's funny. He's been at practice one day. He has been at practice with all the veterans there the same amount of days as Xavier Worthy. And they showed up on the same day. They both went Sunday. Xavier Worthy decided to go to practice on Sunday, and Kent Swanson just happened to be at training camp on Sunday. But, man, it certainly seems like Sunday was the great day to go to. You got to see Xavier Worthy out there running routes, catching footballs, tracking the ball. Matt Nagy was glowing yesterday talking about, how beautiful it was to have him out there. Hopefully he's out there tomorrow. And listen, if it is strep throat that he's got, as somebody who suffers from strep throat at least once a winter, that sucks, man. Because if you've never had strep throat, again, and I'm under the assumption that that's what it is because that's what Kent Swanson had mentioned. If you've never had strep throat, common misconception is that the worst part is what's going on with your throat, since that's the name. The worst part is how bad your body hurts and aches, and you just feel like somebody is just constantly taking a vice grip to your bones. It sucks. I could deal with the sore throat.
I was going to say.
I could deal with that.
They named it after the one thing you actually can handle.
Yes, I can deal with that. I can take the lozenges. Obviously, the ibuprofen can help, but it's the fever and the body aches and sometimes the chills, but it's just mainly how uncomfortable it makes it, depending on how bad it is. And if he's missed 3 days of practice, I would say he probably gets it he's probably got a pretty rough one.
I can't remember who said this, but if he's sick and he tries to push through it, he could hurt himself even worse.
Yeah, it's Tim Grunhard yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Grunny was on yesterday. Was like, okay, so he goes out there and he tries to push through it and he's tired and he reaches for a ball or something. Like, okay, well
hamstrings back.
now you're hurt even worse. Like,
yeah.
Okay, get it taken. You're sick. You're sick, man. There's some things you might be able to push through, and sometimes you might need to push through that. Day 2, 3, 4 of training camp with the veterans there. You haven't put pads on yet. Probably not the time to push through it. But he does need to be out there.
Right.
He does need to start being out there. So hopefully tomorrow he'll be out there and ready to go. But, man, it is like everybody's talking about the Chiefs throwing the ball deep. Vahe Gregorian wrote about it. Jesse Newell was talking about it. Adam Teicher wrote about it. Kent Swanson's main observation from camp so far has been throwing the ball down the field. That's the main thing that he's sort of taken away from these 4 practices. Certainly has that feel that that's what they're going to be doing. And I look, it's personnel for sure. Aqib Talib was on the podcast with
Kay Adams.
Kay Adams. Thank you.
Up and Adams.
Kay Adams on the podcast Up and Adams and said the Chiefs have 2 Tyreeks. That he said the offense is going to be better this year than in what it was with Tyreek Hill. She was like, better than when they had Tyreek? He goes, yeah. It's like they kind of got 2 Tyreeks. You got Hollywood and Xavier. Like, you got 2 guys that are now. I think those guys combined could be close to Tyreek of what the overall production for him was. I don't think they have 2 Tyreeks. It'd be like if we took Dylan, turned him into a magic act, and a magician sliced him down the middle. We would have 2 Dylans, but we wouldn't have like 2 Dylans.
Yeah, you wouldn't have one either.
Yeah, it wouldn't be multiplicity with Michael Keaton. All right, you wouldn't just have more and more and more Dylans. We'd have 2 Dylans technically, but they would have to equal 1 former Dylan.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what the Chiefs are going for right now with Hollywood. They just need somebody that can offer a threat over the top and can track the football, and I think they have 2 guys that can do that. Hopefully, they have at least one of them each game.
And not to put too much into a shorts and shirt catch, but we might have 2 Travis Kelce's.
Oh, yeah, Jared Wiley looked good.
looked good.
Now, Drew Tranquill said that was incomplete. I'd like to see, that they may challenge that because as he went down, I don't know if when the ball was around his stomach, did it hit the ground or whatever. Drew Tranquill definitely pointed to the ground that thing was incomplete. In camp, that's a catch.
Yep.
That's a catch. That's a camp catch. Sorry, Drew.
Yep.
He showed his frustration by punching the football. That's fine too.
It's a social media catch right there.
That's absolutely right. Yes, the Chiefs are putting that one out.
Yeah.
All right. I don't. Have they put out the Trent McDuffie interception of Patrick Mahomes?
No, I feel like they're slow playing these highlights today with the off day because they they posted a couple, but none of those.
They slow playing defensive highlights.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Chiefs are doing all of this against air. According to the Kansas City Chiefs, their defense is going to be ass this year.
I feel like as a defender, it has to feel like air because your whole job is not allowed to happen yet until Friday. Like you can't really stop a runner from running to the goal line or juking you out, and all you can do is really punch at the ball. I think that they're supposed to just put a couple hands on them and then that is down. I guess like when we were kids, 2-hand touch. But yeah, you can tell the defense is ready to put the pads on.
Yeah, so I'm looking through all of the highlights of the Chiefs that the Chiefs account has tweeted out. It's a lot of Mahomes. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of Mahomes. Some Hollywood. Mahomes to Rasheed. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's Mahomes in 7-on-7 thrown over the middle, and Drew Tranquill jumped up and almost one hand caught it. There you go.
That's the only one. It was like 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah. Mahomes. Which, ain't nothing wrong with that, I love that they mixed in one time. Hollywood, Mahomes, Jared Wiley.
The punter.
Yeah, that's right. They got a Rice out there punting the ball. Pacheco walking down the hill. Mahomes to Rashee Rice. Mahomes to Pacheco in a pass. Mahomes scrambling and throwing a no-look pass to Sky Moore, who caught it. That's good. Maybe Mahomes threw it to Sky Moore because he wasn't looking and didn't know who he was throwing to. That's why he ended up throwing it to Sky Moore. It's like, no look. Oh, thank God, 24 caught it. A deep pass from Ian Book to Montrell Washington. They even showed that one. And then he did a backflip in the end zone and said, flipping into our day off. Mahomes to Kelce. Those are the highlights. So, yeah, not much defense that they have been showing the highlights, even though the defense has been making its plays. I mean, why didn't they show the highlight of Karlaftis dropping Kadarius Toney to the ground? That was a highlight. Show the highlight of McDuffie intercepting Patrick Mahomes. Maybe that was because Justin Ross ran the wrong route, but it still hit the man right between the 2 and the 1, and he caught it.
Exactly.
Does he have an interception in an NFL game yet? He's got one against Patrick Mahomes in practice.
That is wild.
Isn't it, though?
That is so crazy.
He's going to get one.
He's got to get one this year if he's playing on the outside.
I think, and people may disagree, I think McDuffie will have an interception before he retires. And people may disagree with that. That's fine. I could be going out on a limb. Don't care. This can be hot takey, for a Thursday. Thursday hot takes. I think McDuffie gets an interception in his career before it's over. So.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm on the opposite side of that. Actually,
don't think
since
he
we
is.
have to debate.
Over.
It
Yes,
has
exactly.
to be a debate. So
Pick a side,
Yeah.
Dylan. Pick a side. Over under interceptions for McDuffie's career.
under
a half.
Yeah.
I'm going over. Who more interceptions for Trent McDuffie or MVPs for Bobby Witt in their career?
More interceptions for Trent McDuffie or me?
Because right now we all have
We're all
combined
tied.
for the same number of interceptions. Unless, of course, he got an interception late in the season that I totally forgot about, but I don't remember that happening. And if he did, then that's awesome because I'm right about him having an interception.
He makes
in
more
his career.
special PBUs than interceptions, basically. So I'll take all the running Debo's routes in the Super Bowl, basically.
Yeah,
for
no interception in the
interceptions.
playoffs either. So he's yet to catch a pass.
Yeah.
From another quarterback. So yeah, I think he's gonna get one. I think he's gonna get one in his career before it's over. I'm willing to go on that route. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. The ultimate trash talk happened in baseball yesterday. Not only are you losing 20-7, but then you get hit. Not with a baseball, but with words that cut like a knife that you can't do anything but fight. Talk about that next. All right, so yesterday, the ultimate trash talk that resulted in benches clearing, because there's no other way it could have resulted in anything but a fight. Cal Quantrill for the Rockies facing off against the Red Sox, Reese McGuire. It was a ground ball, it was an out, getting out of the inning, and Cal Quantrill looks over at Reese McGuire, who was upset about Cal Quantrill's celebration. Reese says something to Cal, and Cal looks back and says, quote, "You bleeped off in a bleeping parking lot, you dumb bleep." Now, the backstory to that is Reese McGuire faced an indecent exposure charge in Florida because officers were dispatched to a shopping center, a parking lot, in which there were reports of a man sitting inside an SUV exposing himself. Reese McGuire did not deny these allegations. He was charged with a misdemeanor count of exposure of certain organs. He was in the car while people were walking around. And it's apparently well known amongst baseball people because if Reese McGuire were to talk smack to you, Cal Quantrill replied with, "You bleeped off in a bleeping parking lot, you dumb bleep." And then you fight. Because if you're Reese McGuire, there's only two ways around that. You either slink away and leave baseball, or you fight.
What you gonna do, brother?
When Cal Quantrill starts talking smack all over you.
'Cause I will fight you.
That's what Reese is saying, yes. And maybe Reese was at a Buffalo Wild Wings parking lot. I don't know. I have no idea what parking lot he
I'm
was
at
at.
Buffalo Wild Wings. 'Cause
Not-
I will fight you.
Not anymore. You're now heading to jail. Let's just say, if you don't get the drift of what was happening, let's just say there was a carjacking that didn't involve somebody else. His car remained there. Nobody stole the car. But he was arrested for an attempted carjacking. That Cal Quantrill did through that.
Well done.
I mean, just there are levels to trash talk, right? Like, I feel like there are levels where it's okay that players may go to on a field. That was right there on the tip of the tongue. Like, Reese McGuire said something to Cal Quantrill celebrates. Reese McGuire says something to him, and he immediately fires back with, "You bleeped off in a bleeping parking lot, you dumb bleep."
I mean, usually you don't even have that much
Woo.
time to get off a blast. Like, I know, damn it. Anyway, I'll mark that.
To reply?
Yeah, you don't even have that much time to reply or say anything. You can
Yeah.
maybe get off a couple words, but the fact that he
Just immediately.
eviscerated him and the camera got it, and
Yes.
it's perfect lip reading.
It is.
Because if it didn't, then there would be a whole. There's no way that the other party tells the world what he said. Neither party would say what he said.
And let me say, there's no coming back from that if you're Reese McGuire.
No.
Like, there's also no holding me back. Like, I'm not getting behind the first base coach and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna." Ah, man, we're fighting. That's what we're doing. Sports or Leisure next.
You're into sports, but nothing wrong with a little leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, Thursday edition of the show, 1 o'clock hour. That means it's time for a little sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. Jason Anderson, Corey Anderson, Shane Summers hanging out with you here.
It's the
on
Andersons
this, what?
and Shane.
What? Oh my goodness, that's not true. It's Jason Anderson,
Is it like
Dylan Michaels, and Shane Summers.
was that like a repressed memory where you're like, oh, I just did that. I didn't mean to do that. Like when
No,
you first started,
I planned it. Been planning it for years, guys.
when you first started, you constantly said ESPN Louisville.
I did it like twice, Shane.
But I played it
just
as liners forever.
I know. I just happened to do it the very first time coming back from break.
Yeah, well,
Right out of the
there's a first time
gates.
for everything.
There was, and there was only a second time for that, which
And
was
then
also
5
the
years
last time.
later, you're still here.
I know, right? Thank
Congratulations
goodness.
on
Yes, I appreciate it. This is actually close to 5 year anniversary. Actually,
I think so.
yeah, it's pretty close.
Hey, that's why I'm in here.
Do you know
Congratulations
that-
on 5 years.
Well, thank you for letting me know my anniversary.
I think-
appreciate
now
that.
that I said that, I was like, wow, it is probably
See?
about 5 years.
Take that, everybody that took the under.
Yeah,
Of course, the under was like 2.5 years, but you know, that's fine.
I took a week.
You were like, he'll be gone in a week. Over under 8.5 days, not years. 913-381-0810. Shane is playing the role of leisure today.
That's never been said in my life.
He is playing the role of a leisurely man, and typically that would be Corey, or that would be Josh, or Sterling,
Or Todd.
Or Todd. Others have sat in there, but never a Shane before. We haven't had a Shane. You filled in on Stump the Chumps before, but never with sports or leisure. Do you like it on this side of doing sports or leisure? Because you hated Thursdays
Well,
at 1 o'clock.
I already like it more.
Do you have PTSD when it's like Thursday at 1 o'clock? Oh my God.
I did think about like of all the times to come back on the show is my least favorite hour every week.
You got these questions in front of you, and I bet
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God.
Hey, hey Dylan, do you hate this hour as much as I did?
I fake it.
Well, see,
Yeah,
I did.
fake it
That's
till you
better.
make it, Dylan.
That's
Nice job.
better than me. I never faked it.
Dylan might be the only producer we've had that I think genuinely doesn't mind this hour.
I actually do kind of like it. It's fun.
You hated it. Beards hated it. Dylan's like, what's the big deal?
I love the people.
Yeah, there you go. See, Dylan, he's a man of
There
the
you
people.
go.
Man of
There
the
you go.
people.
He's a people
You are
person.
a better person than me, Dylan. That's never been debatable.
That is
I
debatable.
mean, Shane,
I don't
you're a great dude. You're a great guy. I don't care what people around here say about you.
They say a lot.
Yeah, I don't care what they say about you. And I'll continue to fight for your job no matter how many times Chad has come to me and asked if it's time to let you go. I will continue to
Well,
be on
thank
your
you. I
side.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Happy anniversary.
As long as that's reciprocated on that side too, okay? Just
Absolutely.
913-381-0810 is the phone number. Playing some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern on the line. It's in a gift card. You can use it for food or drink or whatever you want. You can give it as a gift. You can use it for yourself. It's yours to use it at your leisure. It's called sports or leisure. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question, you get them both right, you win. Either of them wrong, you do lose. But the question is out there available for someone to call in and request. If someone happens to know the answer, they can call in. If they looked it up, whatever. We give out the answer when it has been answered correctly or we have simply run out of time to play. That's how we know the right answers to these questions. That is how you play. Categories for sports or leisure today. We have Royals trades and we have Chiefs training camp stars. Royals trades and Chiefs training camp stars.
I want to say a name so bad, but it probably is an answer.
It's on here. It's definitely on here, and it's the funny one because it's always on here.
It's probably the same one.
And I think we've used him as 7 different questions that he ended up being the answer to somehow, some way.
Well, there you go.
What about on the leisure side, Shane?
All right, with some help from Dylan, I got royally relevant.
What's that about?
The Royals and how they're relevancy in the pop culture world.
Oh, okay, so like the royal family,
Yeah.
or
So like anything with royal in it that doesn't have
Okay.
non-sports related.
I
of course.
see. There we go. All right.
IMDb obviously is music or movies questions, not music.
No, that was great. That was, I thought
It's movie questions.
No, that was a great way of presenting it. I thought you did that on purpose. That was
No,
beautiful.
I didn't.
That
I
was
didn't.
good.
That's just
No,
my
it should
dumb
have been on
self.
purpose. That was great. IMDb is obviously music.
It's
a great way to do it.
Commonly misspelled word spelling bee,
which is
I will
obviously history.
I will probably not be able to say some of these words, as we found out earlier. And then I made some Olympic trivia.
Nice.
Earlier.
Yes, so you've got Olympics that would be on the leisure side. That Shane has come up with all these questions by himself.
Yep.
And Dylan came up with the other questions that, if they're wrong
With
or
the
they're
help of a
hard.
Ghost Rider as well.
Oh, really?
Ghost Rider, yes.
Okay.
The last.
Like the Marvel movie Ghost Rider?
No.
Oh, okay.
Writer, like
not very
like,
good.
like Drake.
Righter, writer?
Yes.
I see. Bill Ryder, Reiter?
Yep.
I'm just doing commonly misspelled words here.
None of them are on there.
Oh,
No, I didn't
Bill
put
Ryder's
any of
not on
those.
there?
No.
We should do commonly misspelled athletes. Spell Giannis Antetokounmpo.
That's a good one.
Greekfreak. Correct. Nice job. Well done. Giannis Antetokounmpo. You nailed it. All right, I'm ready to go. Shane, you ready to go?
Sure.
Do you know what I spelled?
No.
It was Greek
I was
freak.
paying attention.
I spelled Greek freak. Shane, you good?
I'm good. I'm
okay,
good.
great. Dylan, you good to go? Fanboy, ready to go? Gave a thumbs up. All right, thumbs up from Fanboy. Let's see if the callers are ready to go. 913-381-0810. We start a little sports or leisure, and we start with Andrew leading us off here on this Thursday. Andrew, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do Chiefs training camp.
Chiefs
stars.
training camp stars. Man, I really want to ask a specific question first
You've
and
asked me it
foremost.
the last 2 years. So.
This was as big of a camp darling as there's ever been in Chiefs history. He played in the Arena League. He led all the Chiefs wide receivers in the 2008 preseason games in both receptions and yards. He will go down in history. Andrew, thank you for asking this, because you are exactly who I thought of when I rewrote this question. Who is that man?
It's Bobby Scipio.
Yeah, it is!
Nailed it.
Bobby Scipio has been a question that somehow Andrew has been given a number of times. Somehow Andrew's like, yeah, it's Bobby Scipio. Great, nice job. Every year, Chiefs Training Camp Stars comes out, and we'll save a Bobby Scipio question for him. You want to talk about a layup. Nice job, Andrew. Way to know that question. On to leisure with Shane. Any Bobby Scipio questions over there, Shane?
I do not have one.
Okay, all right.
My go-to. Let's try IMDb movie.
All right. Excuse me.
I like how you clarified movies and not music.
Yeah, not music. A
Make sure.
thief who steals corporate secrets is given the task of planting an idea into the mind of a CEO, but his tragic past may doom the project and his team to disaster.
Inception.
There you go. Nailed it.
Nice job. Well done. I didn't know that people actually knew what Inception was about, except for like crazy effects and cinematography. And
whether or
everything.
not the whatever the top falls
The
over
top
or not.
falls. That's right.
Yeah, that's all I remember
that's,
that movie.
Yeah, but there was an actual plot to it of like
Yeah.
stealing things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I was going to go with Ocean's 11, but I was wrong about that one. Andrew, we will put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations. Bobby Scipio helps you along the way yet again. Thank you, sir. We'll put you on hold. $25 from Johnny's Tavern is yours.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. There's one down, one up, one down. That's how the ninth
things
started
never
last night for the
change.
Royals. That's how the ninth started last night for the
Yep.
Royals. One up, one down. That didn't turn out too well after that. As Mick Schaefer says, it's a game called Everybody Wins, except for when people don't win. Except for when he's
I have a
texting
couple
us.
hard questions, so you have to tell me
What's-
some of my Olympic ones if you're like, nah, this guy.
But it's weird though. Like he calls it Everybody Wins, but
But
then
nobody-
some of the,
not every-
But then some of the texts we get
Nobody wins.
about some callers that it's like, well, I thought you said everybody wins there, Mick. So the Bobby Scipio question, the free space and the training camp stars is out. 913-381-0810. Scott, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB in the zone, sports or leisure. Scott, what side do you want to start with?
Well, Jason, I know you guys run an extremely tight ship, but I was wondering, would you mind if I fired off a quick take about the game last night? I wasn't able to get it in, but if you don't want me to, that's cool too.
You know what, Scott? You go right ahead. You asked very nicely, and right now it's your time.
Two things actually.
Well, now
one,
you're pressing your luck. Now,
Yeah,
now
I
you're
know,
really
I know,
pushing
I
it.
know.
You give a
I
guy
know,
an inch, he
I
takes
know.
two
Give
things.
a moose a muffin.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Scott.
So when MacArthur came out, they did, and I haven't been to a game in like a month. They did the stadium lights out, and they, whatever. And my teenage son just looked at me and he's like, Dad, doesn't this guy, isn't he have like a 5 ERA? Like it just feels like they're doing too much, and obviously it backfired on them. So one, Royals, I love the presentation, but let's can the stuff with it's not Joaquin Soria or Wade Davis coming out of the bullpen right now. Two, we have the technology. Why can't an umpire just wear a sensor and tells him if the ball's over the plate and in the zone or not? I mean, if Jose Altuve can wear a freaking sensor, why can't the home plate umpire and he can just signal from there? You know what I'm saying?
The home plate umpire can't call a ball or strike until he hears a pounding on a trash can. That's when he knows it's a strike.
Whatever. I don't know. I mean, a little buzzer.
Deep in the background, just. That's a strike.
It's a little shock.
That's
you got that wrong.
I'm gonna go strike.
I mean, that was a strike.
There you go. It's a shock therapy for them to get the calls right.
Shock them into the right call.
I love that. Yes. They just need to hurry up and implement the challenge system.
We at home know balls and strikes better than the home plate umpire does.
At least get to the challenge system already.
And I will say, I was watching that horrible of a ninth inning on TV.
Yeah.
And when he came out, he did have an under 4 ERA.
He does
it did not when he left, but it was under 4.
Well, that's the thing about James MacArthur, though, Scott, is that he changed his song. He used to come out to Whitehorse. That was his song. The lights went out, and he had a closer entrance music, and it was Whitehorse. And now he's changed it to Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. And
obviously,
not careful. He's Ain't No Love in Kansas City either.
Because he left the mound with Ain't No Love in KC. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
He came in No Lovin' in Oklahoma. He left No Lovin' in KC.
Well, are they gonna dim the lights and bring out that music and stuff when he starts coming out for the 6th inning here in a couple weeks,
yes,
or what?
They should. They absolutely should. He comes in the middle of an inning. They have to dim the lights and do that. That's what they have to do.
They have DFA'd and traded players before their bobbleheads have came out, so they have dealt with worse problems.
That's true.
That is true.
All right, Scott.
Let's
Sports
go
or leisure?
Royals trades.
Trades. Okay. Let's see. Question about James MacArthur.
I don't know who we gave up to get him.
Yes,
for.
I don't either.
Sorry.
All right. Let's go with this one. The Royals made an in-season trade in 2022 that brought back a future All-Star to the Royals team. The future All-Star just happened to be for a different team last year. After appearing in only 14 games for the Royals in 2022 and just 25 at-bats. But maybe there's more for him in a Royals uniform in the future?
Oh, man. Well, I think it's Rooker, but I have no idea who we traded to get him for. Is that
I didn't ask who we traded. I said who did they acquire.
All right. Rooker from the A's?
Brent Rooker. That is correct. They traded for Brent Rooker back in 2022. And they nailed that trade. They got a future All-Star. They got a guy that hit 30 home runs. He just had 25 at-bats for the Royals. And you know what?
Well,
he may be a Royal this time next week.
Along that same lines, Joey Bats was a Royal for like 2 weeks before he went to
Yep.
I think they traded him to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then he ended up going to
Bautista.
Toronto.
Yep. Yeah, there's been a number of guys like that, yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, he was a Royal as well. Leisure with Shane.
All right, let's go IMDb music.
Okay. Okay.
Well done, Scott. Well done, Scott.
In a near future, a lonely writer, Joaquin Phoenix, develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need.
Oh, gosh. I can picture it.
I can't remember the name
and
of the
it's
movie.
Beautiful, Clark. Man, I remember. I want to say Sybil. Is that wrong? That's wrong, though. I think I don't know. It's a one-word title, but I'm
correct.
blanking
It's a
on it.
one-word title, but you are wrong.
I can't
Scott.
picture
Sorry.
it either. You want to throw a dart other than Sybil? Maybe Shepard?
No, I don't, it's not going to come to me, but
blame
I
Dylan.
appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Scott, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man. We would have also accepted Reese McGuire. That would have also been an acceptable answer for that.
Would it have been?
For me, it would have been.
Okay.
I don't know about Dylan, but I would have said absolutely. That counts. Only for that question, though, because of the context. Charles, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Just some leisure, got spelling bee.
All right, that's my man.
All right.
That's my man.
Ingenious.
What?
Ingenious.
Ingenious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Ingenious. INGENIOUS.
Yep.
Boom!
Nailed it.
Got it, Charles. Nice job. You doubted yourself for a second, too. You
Yep.
doubted yourself, and then you killed it, man. That was ingenious of you to throw us off like that. All right, Royals trades or Chiefs training camp stars? What are you thinking?
Let's try to do an easy one on the Chiefs camp, maybe.
I don't know if there is an easy one or not. We'll find out. All right, so he's been a camp darling for a couple of years, it feels like. Maybe because he's been a guy filled with potential for the past 5 years, but he hasn't done anywhere near what he did early in college. Unlike a lot of darlings, this guy actually made the team out of training camp. He's more on the outside looking in, but how quickly things can change, people are rarely talking about this Tiger anymore. Camp darling, tons of potential. Not coming anywhere near he did early in college. And he went from darling to, oh, yeah, that guy's still out there. That's cool. That's cool.
So he's been with us for like 5-ish years then?
I didn't say with the Chiefs for 5 years.
Tons of potential.
Yeah, but not much talk about this Tiger anymore. So
Offense, defense?
Or special teams. You know, there are 3 phases to every game in the NFL that you have to take on the road with you. And the coaches will tell you offense, defense, special teams. All 3 of them. This guy played 2 of them. For a little bit. I'm surprised you don't know it, Shane.
Well, I don't want to. My one idea I don't want to say out loud.
Okay. Well.
I mean, I have no
Not
idea.
really, not really a Missouri fan, so I'm not.
Oh, I didn't say it was a Missouri fan. I didn't say it was a Missouri Tiger.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now I think I got it. See, I was thinking Missouri Tiger as well.
Yeah, you idiot.
Dumb me.
I mean,
Tiger.
that's your Missouri fandom coming through there,
Yeah.
Shane. They're
Got me.
always thinking about the Missouri. They're always on your mind. They're never too far away from your mind, are they, Shane?
No.
I knew it. What do you say, Throw Dart? Time's running out.
Cornell Powell?
It was not Cornell Powell. Charles, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, brother. Nice job on Ingenious, but not Cornell Powell. His teammate, but not him. Let's go to Lucas next. Do you know it now, Shane?
Yeah,
If I
I
said
thought
his
it was Cornell Powell, too.
Oh, you fool.
Now I got it.
Let's go to Lucas next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Lucas, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I'm going to start with leisure.
What category are you thinking?
Can we take that question that's out there and repeat it once?
Yeah. Do you want me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
In a near future, a lonely rider, played by Joaquin Phoenix, develops an unlikely relationship with an operating system designed to meet his every need.
I'm pretty sure that's, what is her name? Her. Just her.
Yep, her. Oh, okay, yeah, her.
Scarlett
I remember
Johansson
it now. I remember it now, yeah,
the
her.
voice.
Yeah, I do remember it, but I could not picture the title of that movie at all, so I would have been out as well. On to the sports side, we got Royals trades and we have Chiefs training camp stars. One question out there and available, if you know the answer to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I know anybody on the stupid team.
Not stupid. They're stupid good, as the kids would say. Oh, man, did you see that pass from Mahomes? That was stupid.
Let's just get a new Royals trade question.
New Royals trade question for you. Sean Manaea was traded to the A's for Ben Zobrist. The Royals were able to draft Sean Manaea because they went signability and saved money on this first-round draft pick.
Hunter Dozier.
Well done. Nice job, Hunter Dozier. That is a winner Yeah, Hunter Dozier. Nice job, Lucas. We'll put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations, man. How about that?
Thank you.
See? Easy as that. 913-381-0810. Let's take a timeout. We'll do that. Come back, load up the phone lines, 913-381-0810. Couple open phone lines right now. Couple on that you're there. We'll get to you first, 913. And we still have that Chiefs training camp stars question out there that Cornell Powell was not the right answer. I don't know that he was ever a training camp star.
He was just a guy.
Yeah, just a training camp darling. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. first in, first on, playing some sports or leisure. Giving away $25 to Johnny's Tavern for sports or leisure. We've got a couple of categories on the sports side. We have Royals trades, because, the trade deadline's coming up on Tuesday, so I did that for that reason. And Chiefs training camp darlings, because the Chiefs are
Bobby
in training
Scipio.
camp. Yeah, that's right. That's actually one of them. Was that the one you were going to joke about earlier?
That was one of two.
Okay, well, don't say the other one.
Because it's probably another question.
Yeah.
It's a
was
little
it
older than Bobby Scipio,
Yeah.
but not by much.
It was like one of the first ones, maybe. I don't know. Well, not by much than Bobby Scipio, then probably not the one I'm thinking of. That's one
I
of
would
the answers
say
here. But,
2 or 3 years.
oh, yeah,
maybe?
this is definitely the guy I was thinking of that's on here is way before that. But the guy 2 or 3 years before Bobby Scipio, I believe, is also on here as well. So Royals trades and Chiefs training camp darlings. You want to reset the leisure side, 913-381-810 for $25 at Johnny's Tavern. Shane?
Royally relevant questions that have a royal answer but are pop cultural. IMDb, which is movies, not music.
Okay.
And commonly misspelled words.
All right.
For spelling bee, and then I came up with some Olympic trivia.
And nobody's asked for it yet, damn it.
No.
Let's get some Olympic, maybe somebody asked for Olympic trivia. I don't know. We'll find out. 913-381-810. Tim, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Tim, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with, bud?
Yeah, let's start with leisure, please.
All right, what would you like?
Misspelled words, please.
All right. Defiancy.
Defiancy.
Deficiency?
Oh, Jesus.
Which is it?
Deficiency. Deficiency.
Yeah.
Do deficiency.
Deficiency.
My bad. I can't read.
That's all good. I could.
Or
spell both
if you want to spell defiancy too, that's great. I want to hear what.
Does that count as my sports side then? Anyway, deficiency.
Now I got you all jacked up.
Deficiency. DEFICIENCY.
Nailed it.
Beautiful.
Defiancy.
That's my forte.
Deficiency. Deficiency.
It's my lacrosse education. Sorry.
Deficiency. I was just speeding through these words, and Shane stopped in the middle and said, "You don't get extra points for spelling them fast."
I couldn't even keep up with the way you were spelling them.
Because you said
slow down.
You said defiancy, and I'm like, DEIFANCEY? Like, what are you talking about?
Did I say it right for you?
No, you said defiancy, and I said
You didn't correct me.
DEFICIANCY. I didn't know what the word was, and you go, nope, it's DEFIC. I said, you mean deficiency?
Oh, so I messed up already. So
let's try
that's fine.
literacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. Onto the which is great because you said it with me, and then I corrected you, and then you said it with Tim. Which is perfect. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
That's great.
Nothing but honest.
Very defiant of you to try to change that up.
Defiancy.
All right, Royals trades or Chiefs training camp darlings?
Are the Royals trades like all relatively recent ones, or is there an approximate time frame, perhaps?
There are time frames. There's recent. There's 90s. There's 80s.
Oh, so it's the whole.
Yeah. Yep, the whole kit and caboodle.
Oh, let's try it. What the heck?
Do you have a time frame maybe you're thinking of?
The year that we did the Grinky trade for,
You specifically want that one?
You've already given one layup.
You know what?
Today, right?
You know what? All right, let's do it then. Let's do that. Here we go.
Okay.
The two biggest trades for Dayton Moore to finish off that Royals team that brought back the two American League pennants and the World Series championship. The series MVPs and a cyborg closer. There was one player involved in both trades. Who was the player that was involved in both trades that brought back those championship series
And you
MVPs?
put some pressure on yourself, too.
This
And
isn't quite a layup.
that
but
cyborg closer.
Okay, gosh.
One player involved in both trades.
Both the Grinky and
Means one may have been acquired and then shipped out.
I could be wrong, but did he play in the Futures game when it was here in Kansas City?
That's a great question.
I think
he did. Yes.
There's a little help.
Yeah. It may be a little help if Tim remembers the Futures game. If he
was
doesn't,
the
then
Futures game the year of the All-Star game?
when it was here.
12,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I believe he was still with the Royals at that point.
He was. Yeah. I believe he was.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he definitely was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because actually,
I need pencil and paper. Hang on.
Because it was at the end of that year
Is that when he got
was,
traded?
he was traded in the offseason of 12.
wasn't both of our futures ended up being traded in that game?
No, the other one was Giordano.
Oh, I thought
Giordano
it was,
started for the World, and this guy started for the American team.
That's right.
I thought it was Will Myers. My bad.
Will Myers was just minor league player of the year when they traded him.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate eliminating certain.
Well, this guy was traded. I mean, this guy was traded with Will Myers.
Yeah, he was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Oh.
So,
You're making it.
I mean, I'm holding your hand.
I know, and that's what's making me.
Come on,
choke.
Timmy.
Oh man.
Come on.
So,
You got this.
Traded for the cyborg reliever, the person who was.
He was, the two trades, the biggest trades. One that brought back the championship series MVPs, and then one that brought back the cyborg closer / also starter and big game James, but one player involved in both.
Was in the league for a decent amount. I'm looking to see if he still is.
James Shields and Will Myers.
Has not played the last 2 years in the league, but that
Has
was.
he? Yeah, he is. He is definitely in the league. Yeah, he's bounced around a little bit, but
Still playing, you say?
I'm looking. I'm seeing. Last time he played was 22, but
yeah, he's. I don't know who he's with now. He started this season with the Rays. Throw a dart, Tim. What do you say? What do you say? Throw a dart.
Wade Davis.
Waiter, check please. It is not correct. Tim, thank you for playing, brother. Appreciate it. Yes, awesome.
Drag it out.
You're fine, man.
I'll remember when I hang up.
You absolutely will. You will.
Bye-bye.
No doubt about that. That trade was a little bit of a deficiency on that, but it happens. It happens. He got that word right, which is all good. 913-381-810. That question is out there available for someone to call in and request. Let's bring in Travis next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Sports or leisure, Travis? What side do you want to start with?
Start with leisure.
All right. Do you know which category, or do you need me to say them again?
I think I heard Royally Royal. Let's try that one.
Oh, fun.
All right. Which artist released her song Royals not long before the Kansas City baseball team went on to their World Series run, creating a baseball anthem out of a song about shunning luxury?
Lord.
There you go.
Yep.
I almost took that one out, but you need
I know
layups. You need
Hey,
layups.
here's the thing. Travis was the first one to ask for that category.
You're right.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So,
fair's fair.
you deserve that. If you're going to take a risk, sometimes you get paid off. All right, on to the sports side, sir. We got Chiefs training camp darlings and Royals trades. We got a question out there for both categories, and we have tons of
Let's
fresh
do
ones.
the Royals trade, but please don't do the last question because I cannot think of that pitcher's name.
All good. Nice job that it is a pitcher. What do you have a certain era of trade that you prefer?
Anything besides the 80s, I'll take a shot at.
Anything besides the 80s. You know what? Let's do this one. Name two of the three players traded for Johnny Cueto.
Brandon Finnegan and
I don't know if any of them ever.
The other one was like they were more worried about trading this one guy.
Yeah, it was like we can't let this guy go.
And
I don't think if we let this guy go, we're gonna be screwed.
I would bet you money if he did, it was a cup of coffee.
He ended up with 129 innings in his career. This pitcher did that they were so afraid to trade.
wow. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. I cannot think of who it would be.
Damn. Travis, thank you for playing. Appreciate it, man. 913-381-810. That question is out there and available. Interesting. Those were massive trades to bring back. The Hunter Dozier one was an easy one. That was answered quickly. I thought that would be one that might have been a little bit tougher. Brent Rooker one was answered quickly as well, but the one involved in both the Kane Escobar trade and also the Wade Davis James Shields trade, and then one of the other two that was traded for Johnny Cueto.
On the Cueto one, I can remember one of them barely, but the other guy I couldn't pick out of a lineup besides Finnegan. But
I don't think I
I
could put
actually
the other
got
two out of a lineup.
the
either.
harder one of the
You
two.
did get the harder one of the two.
And the other one was like a AAA All-Star.
Yeah, the other one was the one that they were like, well, we can't let this guy go. I guess we'll do it. Oh, my goodness, they lost him. Oh, no, they only got Cueto back. Let's go to David next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. David, Sports or
David.
leisure, David? What side do you want to start with?
Let's do the sports. You got that Jake Odorizzi question out there?
I do have the Jake Odorizzi question. Would you like that one?
Let's do that one.
All right, so their two biggest trades for Dayton Moore to finish off the Royals and bring back a couple of AL Championship Series MVPs and one cyborg closer. You know, there was one player involved in both trades. Do you happen to know who that was?
I think Jake Odorizzi?
That's right, it was Jake Odorizzi. What are the odds that I had a Jake Odorizzi question and you would get the answer to that one? Nice job.
I'm a Jake Odorizzi historian.
Who isn't, though? We all are, really. I mean, come on, man. He was a big part of, them winning the World Series.
Not much material to study.
He's a historian. I don't know presently where he's at, but historian. I know he was with the Royals at one point, and he was in the All-Star Futures game. On to Leisure with Shane.
Do you know your category? Or would you
Yeah,
like
could
me-
you repeat him again? I missed
Yeah,
him,
of course.
sorry.
Royally relevant, IMDb, commonly misspelled, word spelling bee, and Olympic trivia.
What the heck? Let's try that royally relevant.
All right. To keep our bump music safe to use in podcasts and in our video system, we use a specific category of tunes that we're able to use without violating copyright laws.
Okay, can you repeat that? I missed the very
I
first part.
No, you're good.
I get it, yes.
To keep our bump music safe to use in our podcast and in our video system, we use a specific category of tunes that we're able to use without violating copyright laws. What would we have to pay?
Okay, what you'd pay? Okay, royalties. I'm sorry. Okay.
So what would it be if we took them out? It would be royalty.
It wouldn't cost anything. It'd be royalty. What? It don't cost nothing.
Royalty-free?
There you go.
Royalty-free music.
Nailed
What an
it.
odd question, Dylan. Like that would be like everybody around here is like royalty-free. Yeah, but like to
non-radio people, we're like,
A
okay.
little bit at the bottom of the barrel there with the royal.
What if in the middle of your question, David would be like, royalty-free music? Like, are you kidding me? That's what I use all the time for my podcast. Like, I'm not trying to get a copyright infringement.
It was just a little confusing how it was asked.
That's all good. I mean, that's really welcome to the show, you know. We will put you on hold, David. Well done. Got the Odorizzi, got royalty-free, but it's not free for you. You're getting $25 from Johnny's Tavern. Well done, sir.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. 913-381-810-810 is the phone number. Odorizzi is off the table. And we have one more Royals trade question out there that is available, and then a Chiefs training camp darling that is available, and plenty of other fresh ones as well. Let's bring in Dustin next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Dustin, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Can I get that John Lamb trade question?
Yeah, you can. Name two of the three players traded for Johnny Cueto. You know, Brandon Finnegan was guest earlier. Do you know one of the other two?
John Lamb?
Yeah, John Lamb was correct. Any chance you know the third one, just for S's and G's?
Oh, another pitcher.
It was. It's the one that I. It's the one that I always
Was
get.
it Borland?
No, it's the one I always get stuck on. Oddly enough, Shane, this is the one that he got first.
Yeah, that's the one I pulled. I
it's,
forgot John Lamb.
Cody Reed, but that's the one that I always get stuck on and caught up on. Like, I know it's Finnegan and Lamb, and Cody Reed's the one I always forget. On to leisure with Shane.
Do you know what category you want?
I guess I'll try Olympics.
All right.
There you go.
Where was the first U.S. city and state to host the Olympics? U.S. city, first Olympics held here.
Los Angeles?
Is that St. Joe?
Would you say Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Nope. Unfortunately, that was 1932.
Do you have another? If there was one before that, what would you guess?
New York?
And it's not St. Joe either.
It's not New York.
It's not. Is it a colder place?
I mean, we could drive there.
We could drive there.
I mean, you could technically drive any.
St. Joe.
It's not St. Joe. A little bit longer than that.
Oh, is it more north than St. Joe?
It's a little more west.
Oh, it's west of St. Joe?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if you had like a east, my bad.
It's east of St. Joe or west of St. Joe?
East of Kansas City. You got me all.
Oh, so Columbia, Missouri.
I mean, it'd be like if you wanted to like take a gateway to somewhere.
St. Louis?
St. Louis, 1904.
Oh, well done, Dustin. Nice job. John Lamb in St. Louis. Well
There you
done.
go.
Wow. How'd you
Everybody
know that? How about
wins!
that? Yay! You knew St.
Oh,
Louis
St.
was the right answer. That's a great.
1904, St. Louis.
You know what? And St. Louis continues to say they're the Olympic capital of the United
Yeah,
States. So just
probably.
because something happened way back in the 1900s.
They got the best Olympic fans in the world.
Yep.
St. Louis hit its peak.
Dustin will put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations. That's cool. So they hosted the Olympics in 1904?
Yeah.
Olympic capital of the United
Yep,
States. Why
yep.
not?
Name it.
Come on, it happened a long time ago. Why not?
And it's so relevant.
Absolutely, it's relevant now. Come on, the Olympic capital of the United States. I would say of the world, really, if we're really going to call a spade a spade. I mean, Olympic capital of the world, really. 913-381-0810. We'll take a timeout, come back, and continue rolling. Do want to give a shout-out to sponsor with our Chiefs training camp coverage, Greengrass Cattle Company. Check out all of the new training camp bundles at greengrasscattlecompany.com while you still can. That's Greengrass Cattle Co. Greengrass Cattle Co. C-O. greengrasscattleco.com. More Zone next with Sports or Leisure. really talking about this Tiger anymore?
John Ross.
What's first name?
Not the fast guy. That was the fast guy, right?
Yeah, that
John
was the
Ross?
fast guy.
That's the fast guy.
Yep, no, you're good. It starts with a J and ends with an Austin.
Justin Ross.
There you go. Nice job. Well done, Justin Ross. What about on the leisure side with Shane?
Olympics, please.
All right. I told you some of these in the break. I want to try to give one that's...
Speaking of break, what's that question you just asked
Oh,
us?
yeah. Making its debut at the Paris 2024 Olympics. This sport is based off a style of dance introduced in New York City in the 1970s.
It's absurd that this is an Olympic sport.
What
This is
type
dumb.
of dance
So dumb. It's an Olympic sport.
this year?
So dumb.
Style of dance. Jason give you a huge hint.
Of all the things that are Olympics that are not Olympic sports, this is one they're like, you know what? Let's make that Olympic sport. Why?
Because so everybody
Why
can,
not?
So everybody can take a break during
Yeah.
the segment.
You know what they should be doing while that's going on? There should be people spray painting and tagging white trains that are driving by or going by.
It's
in
not
Paris.
ballroom dancing, is it?
No, it's not.
We do have to take a break soon, so you need to hurry up and get this answer.
Do you remember that song by Limp Bizkit, Break Stuff? Break Stuff?
Break dance.
Hey, well, there we go. Nice job with the break dance, Kevin. Well done. Nice job. We'll put you on hold. Get your information. That's a walk-off.
Everybody wins.
That was easy. I mean, that he just nailed both those. Boom. Justin Ross. Boom. Break dancing. Got him. Nailed him. Who decided break dancing as an Olympic sport?
There's always.
And how do you try out for that?
Well, I think you have to be good at breakdancing.
Do you though?
I'm
mean,
gonna
yes,
assume
I
like
assume
I
you
don't
do.
think I could do it.
That is a really good assumption that you do have to be good at breakdancing.
You have to probably be pretty good.
Any questions you didn't get answers to?
No, I think all mine were used.
I think yours were as well. And then that Justin Ross question was answered, so that was the only one that I had out there. Hey, who was the training camp darling you were talking
But
about?
what if you use it next week?
That's fine.
Is it in Casey Printers?
Ooh, I don't know.
Remember when he was going to be the greatest quarterback, Arena League or college or CFL? I can't remember.
CFL. But here's the thing: you get 3 yards per carry. That sets you up with 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
Does it, Casey? Does it?